Welcome to the brand new segment where you get to choose what we talk about. The first ticker for us today, the most requested by you guys, can you guess? TSLA, and it is having one hell of a day. A news catalyst coming out midday that Pepsi will be buying more of the Tesla semi-trucks, and the market eating up that very nicely. As you see there, we're printing higher days. Guys, have you had a look at Tesla, especially after that news catalyst came in?
And utterly impossible not to have looked at Tesla today, I think. But I'll confess to having not traded it, but I am impressed with what we're seeing from Tesla, because overall, this is still a stock which has been in a bearish trend for the last, I mean, how long do you even want to call it? This is back into like basically mid last year. It's literally 1 year ago when it made this top and continued that downward trend, but you've just held the 50 pretty nicely. You get a bit of a catalyst, and I say a bit of a catalyst because it doesn't seem that big. We've known about Pepsi in the fleet for some time now, but this stock, it went one level, 180 to the upside. It just took another to 182. I was trying to catch a bid for the last breakout here, thinking it would consolidate, but up 5%. It's essentially off to the races. And next stop, the 187 level on this daily chart. Whether or not it gets there today, I'm a little bit skeptical of that. I'm just going to go ahead and cancel my 182. If you're buying dips, that breakout price is pretty much gone here. I think you had a lot of people that have been looking at this trend, and every single time there's any kind of a breakout past resistance, you get like a little bit of squeeze action here on Tesla. But I love the fact it's holding the 50 on the daily. I think that's good news. The 187, it'll be hard for me not to be looking short when this gets to $187, as bullish as the stock has been. But it's a big level on the daily, so I think if it gets there, it can be a short. Maybe it has a chance today, as strong as it's been.
Look, a big shout out to my guy Obi behind us there. Obi and I, the only ones brave enough to take Tesla over Apple to get to 200 first. But you know what? It's getting closer. Yesterday it was 172. Today it's 184. Tesla continues to go. Remember what we said, or what I said. There's a lot of levers that could get pulled here with Tesla. And today apparently another one. 50 trucks doesn't seem like a huge deal. The funny thing is that story was early. This move here, I don't know what's going on there, but a huge break through 180, starting to go higher and higher. Congratulations to everybody long Tesla. Those who believed, and it's a long. But we were short early, and that's where we got stopped out at 176. So it's on here for the short at 176. I mean, I'm like thrilled to death that we didn't even really lose that much money. We actually got a piece out before it eventually breaks. So we started our discipline today real good, man. I mean, we liked the short into yesterday's high, blew it off the top right there. Tesla for everybody to 200. Let's see which wins, Tesla or Apple.
AMD next on the list, guys. This one coming in because it's got a catalyst with Microsoft. So you know about the MI300X that they're going to start producing to rival the H100? Well, there's software for that as well. And so that's what the headline is. Essentially, they're going to help Microsoft use their MI300 accelerators, and that is a look there. There's also a parallel catalyst for Nvidia. So both GPU makers today coming in and working with Microsoft. Any look on these guys?
I've been favoring the shorts on AMD today. Like obviously, you had that news with Nvidia. You also had the news with Micron early on that their CapEx was going to go up. That put the chips under pressure. The other story for AMD particularly is on the daily. This has been rejecting every single day. Well, okay, the last couple of sessions at least, it's rejecting the 50-period moving average. You'll get a wick above and then a rejection, a wick above and then a rejection. So today, you essentially are trying to wick above in the pre-market, then we get the bad news. But as things were starting to come into the upside, 165 was holding. That was the trade for me. It was the 165 level, shorts. It eventually broke VWAP, and you've got a slight upward trend forming just for the day, bouncing off of VWAP here. But I'm not thinking it's a long at this point. I look back to that last wick. I wasn't really thinking shorts when it broke 165. But this last wick here, just at noon, could not clear out afternoon support from yesterday. So when that was the case, I said, let's short this lower high. And I like to short back into VWAP if we can get a 165 quarter, 165 half, somewhere in here, because overall, this is a relatively weak name. Nvidia went from getting smoked on that news to going green. AMD still down 1%. So I think it's still relatively weak. Overall, it's also rejected the 50 period for the third day in a row. So it looks like another close underneath that. All leads me to be bearish. I know it looks like a little bit of a hold of VWAP in here, but I'm not done with the notion that this is a relatively weak stock to look for some shorts. If you're in the chip names looking for the strength, Nvidia's turnaround, and we'll talk about them in a minute, but it's been ARM. ARM's the one that is absolutely ramping to the upside.
All right. I mean, look, AMD, really choppy early there. It was never really on my radar. Yesterday we traded Nvidia. AMD, nice little bottom there at 163 and change. I still think you want to go long these names. I mean, it's going to be dangerous into Nvidia earnings. But for now, I mean, are we going back to the, I'm done. All right. Here comes Sharif running back over to the green screen. So AMD, not much happening there today. Let's go think about Meta.
Waiting for that Meta to come in. Yeah, very tough day today for Meta. It really could not catch a bid. Kept eyes on that during the midday. There is this headline today about AI startup scale secures $1 billion from investors, including AMD. Meta included in that group. It didn't really catch a bid, though. It was a bit of a tougher look. Any look today, guys, on Meta?
So I, you know what, I really like Meta. I mean, I think that Meta is one of those names that we're going to make a mistake on this because we talked about buying Microsoft down to when it was down near 400, 398, and some of those dip buy opportunities. Well, Meta's kind of the same thing, man. 440 down into 460. Right now, this could be a buy down into here for Meta. I mean, I feel like the market's going to pull back just a little bit, so I don't know if we want to pull the trigger yet on Meta. I mean, I'm long Corning and the market here. But for now, I like this level at 459. Whether or not we get down there again, we won't get there today. The market seems to be pretty strong, biting any news. But I like the long in Meta, and I think this is one of those names that for no reason is down here right now. They just talked about more spend in AI. I really like Meta going back up to the upside. I feel like when we're going to look back, this is going to be one of those major names where, just like Microsoft, it made this move down, comes all the way back up, and if we don't start buying some of these dips, that I fear, its next moves are higher for Meta. Again, I feel like there's so many. Oculus is going to be huge. I think once Apple justifies the space with their Vision Pro, that's going to be coming at Worldwide Developer Conference. And then Instagram and what Facebook, I know Facebook's not huge, but for advertising. And then WhatsApp. Thing is, the biggest thing used in Meta are Instagram, private messages, and things like that. If they can start putting ads somehow into that, people view that stuff, man. And then Reels, it's just all beginning. For Meta. I think this is
the convenience,
big sleeping giant here.
The convenience of the AI embedded into WhatsApp. I am not gonna lie. I was
so easy.
Perplexity's cool, and I have the app for that as well. But it is. I'm always on WhatsApp. It is very convenient to just jump in there and ask those questions. You said it might be a mistake not to have bought in the last dip of Meta. I am one of those people that was waiting for the 200 period and missed it. So it bounced off 420. I was looking for it in and around 400 in my personal account. I look at this rejection of the 50 period, and now what's happening? Now it wants to hold a higher low. Another one today, like this 460, it's like 460 to 462. So it's bounced, and now you're holding the top end of the range. Another bounce off that 460. If this ends up being a temporary triple bottom and we get back to the 50 period, then this is gonna be another one that's at those highs. In terms of afternoon trade, I mean, obviously, it's weak relative to the market. Usually, in the afternoon trade, I'm thinking, oh, pop back into VWAP, but the key level would be $465. It was the morning bottom. It was right at 11:30. It was resistance, and it's probably resistance again. If this gets back above there, I think it looks a little bit bullish into this afternoon.
All right, guys, next on the list, Nvidia. This one was inundated with headlines, some good, some bad. The first one that we woke up to this morning was that Amazon was putting off the purchase of the H100, the flagship GPU there. Essentially, they were looking to kick the can down the road and buy Blackwell, the new GPU, later this year, scheduled for release in Q4. Then we saw later on that the Microsoft headline that they were going to assist Microsoft in scaling their AI. That helped Nvidia pump up. Good day for Nvidia today, about up 0.25%, but they do report earnings after the bell tomorrow, guys. Make sure to catch that on the Market Recap Show.
Yeah, nothing will happen to Nvidia afterward.
Yeah, definitely nothing will happen tomorrow.
No excitement whatsoever. No. There'll be more fireworks than if, I was about to say like Alek Manoah was pitching for the Jays, but he's been pitching really well lately, so I have to throw someone else under the bus. So anybody for the Chicago White Sox pitching except for Eric Fetty, and that'll be the fireworks you get from Nvidia. Look, we talked about this in the lesson of the day. Sometimes when there's news in the pre-market on a stock, you want things to settle down at the open and not just assume it's going to be a continuation. There was that story with Amazon, I guess, pushing back some of their purchases. And at the open, this just got bought up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It got bought up, not even a level that I would have been, like 925, sure. If it gets down to 925, I probably would have been all over looking for a bottom in Nvidia. I wasn't. I was looking to short over in AMD. But once it broke higher, it's held higher lows. You're actually just going back and forth off of yesterday's close price. And at this point, I feel like if we see VWAP, we don't want it on Nvidia. If it's going to show the strength, then holding on to that close from yesterday and that news top of the 948 is what will take us to the promised land. The market is trying to go. This has been one of the strong ones and leading us there. I'm not thinking the short unless it's a failed break. It would have to like fail break that high or something. I think when you go red to green in a situation like this, it caught a lot of people off guard, myself included. And at this particular point, the earnings, it's going to be difficult for them to beat. It's always difficult for them to beat sky high expectations, but I'm less bearish than I was this morning. I don't think I want to short this one this afternoon. After earnings could be a different story, but this is just a lesson in don't take it for granted the direction of a move on a news story. Allow it to settle down, because once it showed you the open, it was very, very clearly a strong relative stock. This and ARM absolutely ripped some faces off. And if we, like I said, if we see VWAP, I actually wouldn't like it for long if I saw VWAP, because I think that would be a bit of a weak sign, not holding on to previous close.
All right, look, we had Nvidia written down yesterday, and it was a bang, bang, banger. We hit it through 840, and it was a monster. 840 continued to hold. And Neil just went over some of the moves today. Look, last earnings call was 16%. Expected move, 8%. So 8%, it's $950. I mean, you're going to be moving like $70, $80 at least into the report that comes tomorrow after market on May the 22nd. So if you're just going to look up right here, look, the RSI right now just down here at 61. It's not even that out, too high up right now. We've been, up into these 80s before when we sort of topped out back. I guess that was back in March. Another top out right here on earnings, back to 80 again, topped out up here. So as we continue to go higher and higher and higher, we're actually starting to base out a little bit right now. And I think the next move is this way through $1,000. I mean, there's the 50-period moving average. You're not going to get down to the 200. RSI is still pretty low. I could see a nice move back into the 80 overbought area. Then this happens to the downside. So for me, Nvidia, I'm a little nervous about the report. It could be like the best report and could still get to the downside. So for me, let's wait to see what happens at 1,000. That should get the RSI back to 70, 80, and then we'll move from there. That's that 8-9% move back to the upside for our friend Nvidia. Sharif, I ask you, what do you think about Nvidia earnings?
I think these hyperscalers are just buying too many of them, Sean, especially with that Blackwell coming up. I don't know. I think they beat. I don't want to stand in front of this monster. We'll see tomorrow. Market Recap Show. Make sure to catch that with Sean and Dara. And today's new segment, guys, if you're just joining us, brand new segment, We're giving you guys the power now to choose which tickers we talk about in this time slot, 2 to 2 o'clock. In order to do that, though, you've got to watch the midday show, at least the last hour. You'll be able to vote for your favorite tickers every day between 1 to 150, and then we cover it between 2 to 220 today. Last on the list is the SPY. Wow, we basically almost made all-time highs. We're not at high a day right now. Essentially, this is a Fed story with interest rates. Fed Waller coming out to say today that the policy is tight enough. They don't really need to increase interest rates anymore. In fact, they're looking at a cut at the year end. So the SPY doing decent today. Any look today, guys, on the SPY?
Well, I mean, so we're not at highs right now. We made the highs yesterday, but we're right there. So Sharif is 100% right. I mean, this market continues to get heated up. I mean, if we're going to talk about the SPY, I always look at the NASDAQ, but we could just quickly look at this. Obviously, as the S&P 500, as Apple starts to go higher, we saw Microsoft today make 52-week highs. Apple's into 192. You know, JP Morgan is back again. So many of these major constituents of the S&P 500 are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So for me, that's an absolutely great sign. I mean, you know, people talk about market breadth. I mean, if we're going to look at right now, utilities are up. You know, technology, obviously, as we continue to talk. Energy's pulling back a little bit, which could be good for the S&P 500. Energy is the lowest weighted sector in the S&P 500, so it's not taking too much into consideration there. But you want to talk about where are all my bears at? You know, all of the time, we always hear like, oh man, the market's going to pull back. BS, the market's going to pull back. At some point, yo, what's going on? I still like you. I really like polar bears.
He's right there. You show him some love, man.
No, I love bears. I'm just saying, where are you at? Like, they're not roaring. They're just chilling out right now. And the thing about it is, as the market continues to go higher here, earnings, not a disappointment. I can't even think of, I mean, Disney disappointed. Again, not a major component of the SPY. They're all there. Apple, to me, holds a lot of this. So does Nvidia. So, I mean, it's what? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 up days and 3 red days, and you can barely see the red marks here on the chart. So, I mean, look, it is what it is. And I hate that saying, but you're up to the highs. Any pullback seems to get bought. What, one day? Boom. You know, this was nice. Bang, right by this. I think this is probably JP Morgan. This is the end of April. Nice move to the downside, but right back up to 530. I think if you're dollar cost averaging, obviously you do nothing, but there's nothing wrong with taking some money out of this market at all-time highs. So that's my take. At some point, our friend here will roar again, and you don't want to get caught offside with all of your money in at the top. So I think there's something said about taking things off when you're at the top, at least a little bit. So that's my advice, not financial advice.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit difficult to roar when your face has been ripped off. I think that's kind of what's been happening to the Bears. That said, maybe we should institute a rule. If we have 3 consecutive red candles on the SPY in the weekly chart, you buy it. I don't know. You could throw it out there. But the last time, it's like if you just did it every single time, you've had like minute rally, and oh, if we can come to my chart for a second, Ramin. There we go. Yeah, just the weekly chart. It's like 3 in a row, bounce, 3 in a row, bounce, 3 in a row, moon, 3 in a row, moon. But we're about to, and I don't want to jinx anything, but something's happening tomorrow after market, which could easily change things. That's obvious. But if we do close again above 525, then this breakout is a second week closing above a fresh high. So you could have a consolidation above the previous high on the SPY. I don't think you're all in the clear yet, because with Nvidia, this could easily close back down. Like what if Nvidia misses and we get dragged back lower, then you have a false break. In a weekly chart, I think you want to have this settle down at that top. I don't think we're necessarily there just yet. So much can change when you have a big constituent like Nvidia reporting, but they are the last big shoe to drop. And if they do cause us to close higher, then you could have another leg into the upside. And the next time it does significant dip like that, like if you dollar cost average, like Sean said, you don't do anything. But if you're looking for places to get in, you get 3 in a row down weeks. Probably not a bad place to buy. Historically, it's been really good last year.
All right, so that's our little rundown. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I have a feeling those names will be pretty popular on our rundown list. All right, a little bit of an undercover one here. We heard that Josh Brown was buying it, but we did lose early on that note. And then I looked at Corning, and I'm like, why is this name so under the radar? Like, it's straight up. Just monster moves up here, dipped into VWAP. Like, we saw it happen there at 11.25. We saw it dip, 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 boom. So VWAP's a little funny here because, again, I guess that might have been the Josh Brown one right there at 11. Move up, and then a move up right there off VWAP again, and then just boom goes the dynamite. So this one looks really weird, but I'm sure happy that we're long Corning right now, and I'm just trying to take some more out. So this is actually, I'll check for you. I think it's still Amazon PL #1, but this is getting right up there, man, with the rest of them. So Corning, good trade. In early, got stopped out, bought it again, and boom. So Corning really, really working there. I like that game, Cornhole, you know, where you throw that's a really fun game. It's a Buffalo Bills game.
Yes, sir. By the way, Corning about to reach its January, this will be like it's not a 52-week high, but I mean, effectively, if you look at it, it's less than a year and a half ago. So sometimes the 52-week highs it's already been broken, but $37, it looks like it's very, very close there. So great look. I mean, the trend couldn't be any, it's not just the intraday chart that looks that great on a trend. The daily chart, pretty much exactly the same thing. You have like 7 days in a row to the upside. I could be wrong, it might be 8, I didn't actually count, I'm just eyeballing it here. So good look on Corning, as you've got to always distinguish relative strength and relative weakness out there. Speaking of relative weakness, Amazon, although Amazon's bouncing off the 50 period, I like that fact on the daily. It's still down 1%, and it just got to the top of its open range. Well, okay, it didn't get to the top recently, but the top of the open range was at about 182.5. It crested that at 12:30, then put in some lower highs. I'm shorting off the lower highs into VWAP and rinse and repeating on Amazon. So down 1%. It is above VWAP, but it is relatively weak. I put that in a bucket with things like AMD. Apple might pull back into VWAP here, but Apple's been a weird one. You know, it's been a strong stock. I've been pretty much long the entire day up until this moment here at 12:42. Got bottom wicked on it, but that got bottom wicked and got back in. The other time I was bottom wicked, I wasn't sitting at my desk. So it happened, did not get back into it. I love the strength of the stock. It's trend up. On the daily, you're actually breaking out on the daily chart, getting past this 190, not 191, like 80 high from yesterday. As a dip buy was about yesterday's close more than anything else. But now I think you're off to the races. A VWAP dip will make some sense to me for Apple this afternoon. Let us know what else you guys are looking at right now. But you know, you got some strength over in Apple, 100%. We'll keep eyes on Nvidia, because if that rolls over, I mean, if Nvidia starts to roll over, I think you could drag ARM. I already like a short in AMD, and I think it could drag this market down with it. We just keep slowly pushing into the highs on the NASDAQ and the ES, and then we don't really punch through yesterday's tops or get toward yesterday's tops. So I'm still looking to fade some of these highs.
All right. Yeah, I mean, Amazon's PL1. I really like Amazon, so that's a good one there. What else we want to talk about? I mean, market pulling in a little bit. We can look at the dollar. We can look at some UUP, see if there's any strength here today in the dollar. Nope. Pretty flat, 0.05 right now, not moving around too much. We've looked at crypto a little bit. Bitcoin really pulling back, man. 69.5 now. Weren't we at 71.5 before? We could check out Ethereum real quick if I blow this one up, and we'll be able to see the chart and just see what's going on. We don't need a 5-second chart or 1-second chart. We'll go to a 3-minute here, blow it up just a little bit, and have a quick look. So we are pulling back in. We did make that high of 38.40. Yeah, it's looking like we are getting ready to dip below. If you break this 37, that's a problem, I would think. But, I mean, not really. 36.40. Yeah, you know, it's not really moving around too much, considering what happened yesterday. I mean, there was the boom goes the dynamite into yesterday on that news. We'll see if there's any more coming through with Gensler and all this. But I haven't heard anything else today. We talked about the possible acceptance there of the Ethereum ETFs coming through. So ETHE, in my opinion, is what I'll be trading. And now I'm going to get that loaded back up there, and for all of you, so you can find the price. But for right now, Ethereum not doing too much. I mean, IBIT obviously going down.
Just to go to the point, you were long ETHE a little bit earlier, and I was looking at the actual ETH spot versus ETHE, and there was enough bullishness at moments that I feel like you almost want to favor that to the long side and up moves. Like it was a little bit stronger on ETHE over on the OTC than what I saw in its spot Ethereum, because I was looking at this continuously like breaking down. Like it would just fail the top, fail the top, fail the top, ended up breaking down. And in those same moments, like you would find some relative strength. Like it's not a ton. Obviously, you're going to have the same highs, but just a little bit stronger. So I think expressing long trades in this side actually make a little bit of sense. And it's not always going to be, you know, a one-to-one. Obviously, at some point, if it gets converted over and it turns into an ETF, then I think that'll be the case. But some relative strength in ETHE relative to Ethereum, which every time I look at these crypto charts, and you know, we can't, if on spot prices for Bitcoin, we have Bitcoin, we've got ETH, we've got Cardano, and then Doge. But those we can only go long on the spot prices here at Real Trading. But every time I see these top breaks of these highs and the reversals, they're technically really good. It's just a matter of being able to take them. You can take the long, no problems, but it'll break the level and come back in, and then it's just a quick little scalp trade that's available for you there. Jason's saying, look at CTNT. I don't mind it. What's the deal with this? Is that Cheetah? CTNT. Cheetah Net Supply Chain Service. I wonder what they do. It's just like, so, look, I wasn't here yesterday, but I'm going to make the assumption that shenanigans on whatever the CTNT is, and I'm assuming it's a very small float. This is an unbelievable, if this isn't the best example about take profits when you get them, like this was it was halting down multiple times yesterday. It got to $3 and then went to $43 in the aftermarket. It's now down to $1.29. So I don't know if there's a trade. It's done 40 million. I don't know if there's a trade here unless it does some kind of halt bottom. It's been dropping so far and so cleanly, like something almost needs to happen to cause this to make a bottom, like a wipeout low that maybe gets to $1, halts it, and then it kind of opens back up and breaks back out. You need I need a reason to try to look for a bottom in a stock down 91% after what it did yesterday, completely unwinding all day long. There's something that has to happen to cause a turn. And to me, it would have to be something like a halt down, I would think. But at this point, down 91%. I don't know if it has enough to even do so. Wow, Tesla.
I was looking at Tesla. I was thinking about shorting it. All right, so we're going to try the long again here if we can get, you know, something $63.90, $64 for the triple Qs. I mean, we just bought it down here last time, and it ripped up. And we were just covering at the high of the days. We just covered some more now. We covered some more at the 50 period, so on and so forth, as we're getting lighter and lighter. And we did cover some Corning again right up here. We are now into less than 10% of this position left. So Corning hadn't traded in forever. Nice move up. Look at the chart again, like, wow. Shout out to GLW as that keeps going. All right, so why did I just say I think Tesla's short? Well, I mean, we finally are getting some sell candles. These might be the biggest sell candles of the day finally coming in, despite the open, which was a sell imbalance that hit right away. The sell candles are starting to get upside now. The biggest one just happened right now off of 185.50. So, you know, sometimes we look for little things like that. It might have, I see what people are talking about in the chat, you know, maybe went up too far too fast. You know, that is the stock market, and stocks will do this. So it wouldn't be surprised if we do fall back in a little bit. I mean, even into 183 gives you still a lot of money back if you short rate now. Could be a good buy zone into 182. You do have the 200 period there. Some support where we'd found before was 181. So if this market does come back in, there is something there. I would have loved to have been on this name when I saw this. Fortunately, I was looking at the TQs, but that's a good short, you know, on that spike. So that's 185.50. So you're still ways away from that. I could start it now, but I'd rather get involved at 185. So if we do spike back up for Tesla, Let's take a little bit of a short. So there we go. I'm short now. We just got 48. I got that on purpose. I want to start a position. And then we'll try to get it up to 185. Look, if it goes down, it goes down. If it goes up, I'll just get more. So let's wait to see what happens now as we're short Tesla with a plan of action against 185.50. So without a plan, you don't have anything. Right now, it's an amazing 8 cents in the money. We'll see if Tesla can fall into 183, and then we'll make a buck and change. Hopefully that can happen. If not, we're going to watch out for 185. We're going to get a lot more shares if we come up to 185. So let's try it right now as we still stay long. Ooh, we just got some more there. Nice trade. I'm going to cancel the rest on Corning. We just got 70s up there. Sorry, 69ers up there. So let's now see our 68s. Now let's see what happens if we can go even higher than that as GLW just taking out levels. Nice upside move. All right, we're still long the futures.
Just curious, because I missed the story on GLW. It was just Josh.
Nothing. I saw him, talking about it.
You were just mentioning it?
Yeah, I heard that it was a mention, and we saw him make a move on Tesla. And the thing is that it wasn't that. That's what got me in here. That's that spike. So.
But it was trending anyway.
No, and then I just noticed that there's like, look at all these VWAPs. Like it hit VWAP there, it hit VWAP there, it hit it there, hit it there. So I was just like, I'm just going to buy VWAP dip. And that's what happened. And sometimes it works out. I mean, I also
and it's also green like 7-8 days in a row, right? So it's like the
Even
trend
more,
on
and the
every
break was
time frame
huge.
is good on that stock. Just before we move on, I'm on the offer of ARM, which I know is a strong stock today, but we had mentioned that this had been failing at the 50 period on the daily for the last week or so. So it just tagged, within cents of that level on the daily chart, and this level back from Friday, which was like Friday's high. So I'm looking to short back into it. So a little bit of a rejection at a key price level and the 50 period on ARM. I don't necessarily think it fills in the entire gap. I was short it this morning off 112, essentially a flat trade because it may have made more than I lost, but we were holding on to a little bit more to kind of bigger move to the downside. But I'm going to short this next pop into 115.5, and then my stop will be at the high of the day on ARM. As I said, it's at that 50 period on the daily. It's rejected it a few times back and forth. Alex is saying, look at Mara, Neil. I had all these grandiose plans to be long Mara today. I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to, whatever. Like I can anticipate or want something to happen. It doesn't mean it's going to. In the market, it was super strong yesterday. It had all the crypto names going. It had broke out above 21, which is something that we liked. Kind of felt like you could either take out the next top or maybe we dipped down into 21 at the open. That just never happened. It ended up holding 21.70. I had one long trade and then it turned into a short. It looks a little better now. Now that it's bounced off 21, it's making some higher lows. So I don't mind this. I'd prefer it if it would get to above VWAP or something. But you are getting the first set of higher lows on Mars. So there is signs of the trend going to the upside. Put another higher high, and I'd probably join this one above VWAP. But the ARM short is kind of where I'm thinking next. I want to be able to pick that one up as the market is trying to bounce back up. So I think I will get this opportunity. It's a strong stock. Remember, there's a short off the 50 period on the daily and out in front of that.
All right, so I've already tweeted this out. We could always show, and I said I do this at least once a day. And the problem is it sucks because when you have shares, this sucks. So there it is right there. Look at that Apple out. Literally the worst before it ripped up. That out is at 80. There it's right now is 192.56. So this is like, I get out of got out. Like I would have got some out. Because we bought the dip. We bought the dip at 90 there. So in a little bit here, I feel like that might have been back and forth, but by the dip, so we did have a decent sized position for sure because we were in there, and then boom. So yeah, we'll be red on Apple because of that. But the long, again, trading, it's really just all about timing. We talk about that. I was obviously confident in having this, but then when we stopped out, we stopped out. And so we stopped out about 20 cents lower than this. That's 190.190. There's a stop out at 75 breaks. I guess 15 cents. But at the end of the day, that's what trading's all about. You put your stops in, and you just hope they don't get triggered, honestly, because for me to have missed a huge P&L move here because we got stopped out, unfortunately, that's what trading is. And you put your orders in, and, some trade with stop orders, some do not. While me and Brendan were, working on the podcast, which you'll hear about that very, very soon, and we have a brand new one. By the way, GME goes down to $20. What did we write down here? GME long, $20 off the stick. We've made that trade numerous times, but not today, and we should have had it. So it's absolutely ridiculous that it comes down here. I had to cancel my bids, of course. I'm not going to sit there with a bid on GameStop, but it comes right into 20 after whoop, whoop, Boom. Nice. Apparently, Robert Kennedy Jr. has bought $20,000 worth or something of GameStop. So trying to get it going, and my guess would be he may be out. Right there, as that just goes from there to there. Not much volume. I'm just telling you what the story is. And then AMC right now, had that move to 5 we've talked about. I like AMC just because we have this shelf there down here at 4 that we've held numerous times. But I mean, I don't really like the stock, but if you're going to look at something, AMC at least has that. Just like GameStop, I don't want to misspeak about GameStop. GameStop has the same $20 level now. If you look at a daily chart, we've sort of bounced off 20 a couple times. You can go all the way back to December as well, where it's 18, 19, 20. So into those ranges is fine. So GameStop's been fine down here. If you think there's another moment of YOLO-ness coming, these are good levels. Because, again, you buy the stock at 21, you can get out if it breaks 18. And we haven't really done that in all of this craziness, breaking through $18. So it's held every time. Almost 19 almost held every time.
Yeah.
So I feel like
even
if it's part of your makeup, this is not a bad opportunity.
You know what, even like AMC's making a bit of a bottom as well. Like it tried to break out $5 today. I was in the break. As you can see, like it got 5 to 5.10 and then just really couldn't hold on. But if you look at it, so yeah, it didn't hold that break, but you're getting a bit of a rounded bottom here where you were lower at 470, then 460, then 413 ends up holding, and then it holds a higher low and then another higher low today. So I think each successive time puts in a higher low, going to start looking for those longs. And yeah, Robert Kennedy saying he's for Wall Street transparency and all that good stuff, and you know, like whether it caused the move or not, who knows? But let's be real; these have moved for less reason than that. I just like sometimes when you have these moves unwind and then everyone forgets about them. They make a nice little rounded bottom and then slowly start creeping up. And then one of those days it just rips your faces off. So if you're looking for the long off these higher lows, eventually it squeezes one time and you go from getting a good scalp trade to getting another breakout. I don't know if it'll do what it did in terms of, I mean, is AMC going to go back to $10? Is GME going to get all the way back up to 50? I think that might be a little bit unlikely, but the fact that you're making a bottom on both, I think, can be a little bit interesting. Robbie V, I am watching that CTNT, and like I said, like that stock, it's complete insanity to the downside. I know what ends up happening a lot of times is you see a stock down this much, you're like, oh, but it doesn't have to go very far in terms of a retracement to be a huge win. VWAP's at $3.40. But something has to cause it to go up. It just put in a huge volume candle, biggest one of the afternoon, back into the upside. So it looks like it's trying to make a bit of a bid here. Big volume bottom on the CTNT. If it tries to retrace and holds a low, great. I'm still thinking halt down I'd rather see it halt down, show a capitulation bottom, and then I'd be more interested in this thing. You don't really see things trend like this too often. Amazon is saying, I don't care. We're not going to bounce all the way back up to 182.20. And then ARM, we're looking for the ARM short. You know what, I'm sitting here waiting at 115.40 when it's showing a lower high at 115.25. Right, so it's showing me the lower high at that level. I'm just going to see if we can sneak in off that lower high, 115.15. I just put the order in. We'll see if we can get it. Bonkzilla, ARM gets some relief today. If we're calling 4% up some relief, then ARM got some relief today. That's pretty strong for a relief rally. I mean, the stock, since it got smoked on earnings, is up, what is that, 20, what's more than that? Like 40%. ARM is up, is it really? Whatever.
Well, how low did it get to?
Yeah, no, it's like 85.
Oh, no, I don't think it actually got. That might have been.
Let's call it.
I feel like it opened that day like 94, 95.
Yeah, so let's call it 90 to 115. So that's more like 30%, 27, 28%. So like the 5% move today, like it's been making a relief rally. Great for them. I just got it short at 115.16, so we'll go a little Brett Hall.
By the way, here
on ARM.
Yeah, okay, so we're actually going Brett Hall action, but slap shot to the face. Right now, Tesla, you know, fight this one and get killed again. We're going to lose about $1 on this. You can see where we're short. We're short at 185.35. You know, we got into it, but we didn't like pile into this stock despite having all these fills. We just kind of took fills every once in a while here, but it is, I mean, you guys are 100% right there. I thought that these sell candles were something. It just looks like they were. I mean, these were big moves, right? I mean, that's 185.50 down to 184.80. This is 1 minute. This went down 80 cents. Then the very next minute, we did have a move down there about another 80 cents again. So we're not going to get that now. It's definitely starting to, I mean, if we get it now, we get it now. But this is really starting to ramp out. We're getting out on a 186 break. It's pretty obvious. There has been really no pushback down to the downside. Tesla wins again. And I mean, look, I'm happy for everybody long Tesla. It's not stopping. Every time it tries to pull back, it just goes back up to the upside. But again, we'll have a stop. And you watch. 186 will be the high. We'll get stopped out. And it'll be all hilarious. And I'll start getting upset. But at the end of the day, you know, I thought it was worth something there, and we'll be wrong sometimes, obviously, and it seems like this time it might hurt because we're short Tesla right now at 35, so it'll be 65 cents plus slippage. I'm crossed all the way up to quarters at least, so if that's where we get filled, that's where we get filled. But see that? I mean, it goes down, stops, and then just completely ramps itself right back up again. So, you know, mind a big sell order that comes through. It's 84 million shares, a lot of dark pool right now. It just tried to break 80 and couldn't. So yeah, unfortunately, I think Tesla, for me, is going to have to come out very, very soon. I'm going to put a bid down at 50 to see if I can get out of 10% or something. If we do wash back in, I want to have the winner in case it comes down, but it's looking like a strapped up win for the longs because it has 186 plus on its mind. I mean, it might have 190 today. You know, I mean, look at this, boom. This is huge. Like we shouldn't be short, but we're short.
If there was like betting, well, let's put it this way, like that whole Apple versus Tesla, for me, I'm just like play the percentages. In the moment, Apple stronger chart, probably still gets there. But if there was a chance to like hedge it right now, let's say there was an actual bet on, I'd be hedging it today based on the way I'm seeing Tesla move. Because I didn't think, like Apple to me, I still think has a better chance. It's just closer. It is what it is. But if that were the case, you know, I would easily be hedging that. I'm going to reload Amazon here, but I promise, I was asked about Tellurian last week, and I was like, I'm going to make a decision whether I want to take a swing trade on it, and I've made my decision on that one. So just trying to reload Amazon here, 182 change, once we get that. But I've made my choice on Tellurian. This is a natural gas play. Nat gas is still in the midst of a strong move. So it did close above the 50 period, and there was a pullback today. If it closes tomorrow, another day above the 50 period. So today and tomorrow, I'm just going to look for a long. I'm just going to take it breaking out 61. So if it does a consolidation, I'll just go long either tomorrow or more likely on Thursday, long over 61 and throw a stop underneath like 38.40. Like I think if I take this trade, I'm risking 40% and then looking for a push to $1 and then above $1 on that name. But that's the plan of action. I mean, well, I'll let you guys know if I actually get into it. If it could always just fail tomorrow and then I don't do anything because the stock just tanks. So I'm into ARM. ARM's starting to come back up along with the market. We got 115.16 still in. I mean, Intel could actually break out. Let me go to this one. As Intel might be breaking this consolidation bottom. I was short at VWAP, but now we're shorted off of the morning low, which is 31.75. If it breaks that, I'm jumping out. Not even waiting for VWAP. I'll just get out of Dodge there. The NASDAQ is showing strength. It's trying to hold green. Right now, 0.01 the NASDAQ is down, and it's putting in a higher low. Plus, it's 245, so you know the market probably is going to pump at this moment when we got three shorts on. But the market, it's kind of asleep, but there is some strength bouncing off those tops. As far as getting Apple off of VWAP, that doesn't feel all that likely anymore. It's just consolidating off this high, not a heck of a lot of movement. I want a shoe to drop that we can react to. Oh, and by the way, that CTNT, which had put in that first big volume candle to the upside, right back into the lows. I'm telling you, it needs to halt down or do something dramatic before I'd be convinced that it's making a bottom. The last time it did a halt down, it tried to go. I think that's at least worth a shot, and then it just flushed again. So the stock is probably headed for penny stock territory. If it fails a buck and gets back above, I mean, I don't mind taking that kind of a trade. Are you okay? I'm okay, yeah. Okay, but trend down on that CDNT, just tread lightly on that.
Yeah, we did have, so by the way, slap to fail there on Tesla. It breaks through 186. I just tried it again here, breaking back down below 186, but we're gonna get stopped out if it takes out that high of 186.20, which it might go again. We just tried it again in case we got that 80-cent flush. We could have made it back, but it doesn't look like there's no 80-cent flush happening to Tesla on the downside at all, as that just keeps on getting bought up every single time. All right, we've all been waiting for it. It's Frank with Brendo.
Hey, there he is. Yeah, Tuesday afternoon here, Frank. We have a lot to get to coming off what was pretty surprising as far as the inflation data that we finally get moving in the right direction here. We get a little bit better than expected data points from elsewhere in the globe as well. I mean, generally, we've been sitting here waiting for data pointing in the right direction. We're finally starting to get from multiple countries even, looking like we're making some progress here on this inflation fight. Canada comes out today, says 2.7%. It's the lowest in years. And that June number back on the table here as far as a cut potentially for us up here.
Yeah, it's absolutely looking like cuts are going to be on the table for multiple central banks in the coming months. And yeah, Canada, the first that we should speak to here, given that you all reported, the lowest inflation rate that you've had since March 2021. And of course, you'll remember March 2021. Why is that particularly significant? Well, it's 1 year since March 2020. Well, Frank, we know how calendars work, but you'll remember that March 2020 was really the start of the pandemic globally. And so many data points that reflected from March 2020 to March 2021 saw such huge growth. And that was when inflation really started kicking in. And of course, you can go back and look at the March 2020 to 2021 year over year GDP growths and everything else. That's when stuff really started to pop off. And so seeing the lowest inflation in Canada since March 2021 is really telling you that these global economies, starting with Canada, and we'll get to the UK in a second, and obviously the US has been the slowest globally of this trend downward in inflation. But what we're seeing globally, Brendan, is getting back to, I don't know if you want to call it pre-pandemic, but getting back to normalcy, essentially, in terms of these economic data points. Obviously, if you were trading back then, you remember what happened. But if you don't, we saw the huge move lower in March and even parts of April of 2020. And then everything skyrocketed and saw unprecedented growth for the next couple of years. And that's what yielded the inflation problem that we've been dealing with globally. And so this is a huge inflection point here, especially if this data is actually moving back to that pre-pandemic normalcy. Brendan, keep in mind, you do such a good job of pointing this out constantly. This is backward-looking data. And so now the Bank of Canada has to look at this 2.7% better than expected inflation and say to themselves, okay, well, now we're in pre-pandemic territory in terms of this data. If it keeps moving, we have to keep in mind that this is backward-looking data, and next month's inflation might be in the 2% or lower territory. Employment might become a little bit of a problem here because, you want to just hammer home this data is backward looking. The central banks are trying to make sure that they don't act a little bit slower than the data comes out here. So, I mean, what say you? 2.7% obviously isn't 2%, but a pretty big milestone here for your inflation in Canada. Do you think that you all might cut as soon as a couple of weeks from now.
Yeah, those were the statements, I guess, that followed this release this morning up here, was that June is, I think it was 48%. The market was at least pricing in 48% chance of a cut now in June. Two things on that. One is, I think it's important to also remind people that 2.7% is great. Sure, we'll take it. It's not 2% as you mentioned, but prices are still going up 2.7%, which is not nothing for a lot of people that have just endured what you were just talking about, just massive price hikes as our neighbors south of the border have as well. The other thing to consider here is the simple fact that we went up so quickly, and as you and I have been talking over the past weeks, the trip down has not been a straight line and has not been as fast, anywhere near as fast. So if they take a quarter point off at this point, is that even a big deal at this point?
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see, because to your point, 2.7% is the lowest since March 2021, but it's not the 2% target, and it's still, a year-over-year inflation rate that is hard on consumers in a bunch of different parts of the economy. So by no means is anyone looking for Canada to cut 50 or 100 basis points at a shot here. But yeah, the question becomes, who is going to finally cut for the first time and head in that direction? Because you look at the UK, and here's the piece that is interesting to your point there, Brendan, of the fact that the rate of descent in inflation has, one, not been as fast as the ascent, and two, it's been extremely inconsistent. The slope of this line is constantly changing here, because we've seen some, month-to-month numbers drop from, you saw there, 8.7% down to 7.9%, a huge drop. And then you saw some from 6.7% down to 4.6%. And now the UK has been hovering around 3 to 4%. They're expecting 2.1% inflation in their reading tomorrow morning. And so this is a bit of the not necessarily problem, but potential problem that central banks are looking at, which is, we go from this 2 or 3 year adventure of inflation spiking and staying high, much to the chagrin of, people living in the US, people living in Canada and the UK. And we might be saying, well, it's still not below 2%. So why would they start cutting? This better than anyone, Brendan, the conversation can change on a dime. It can be, August of this year, and we could be talking about how, oh man, employment numbers are trending so low, and the economy is now moving in this deflationary trend. The central bank has to cut more, and so they're trying to get ahead of inflation and all these data points moving into whatever you want to call it, the negative territory, even though they haven't necessarily hit that 2% target. Because the expectation in the UK is to go from above 3% year over year inflation to 2.1% year over year inflation tomorrow. And that at that point, Brennan, is right there at the 2% target that global central banks look for. And so this is all to say that the data seems to be normalizing. The expectation is that central banks start to normalize, but none of them have yet. And the waiting game continues. And I don't think it's any coincidence, Brendan, that we're seeing all-time highs across a number of asset classes as the potential for liquidity enters these different assets.
And Frank, we've heard this term restrictiveness, that rates are at, every Fed speaker that comes out now throws that in there just as the catchphrase of we're at, rates are at a level of sufficient restrictiveness. If the Bank of England comes out tomorrow and says inflation's 2.1%, we're basically done. We're back to, you know, where we need to be. I just checked, they're at 5.25 still. You know, we talk about a quarter point cut, a quarter point cut, a quarter point cut. Do they need to be at a 5.25% benchmark if inflation is at 2%?
Well, and this is exactly the point, especially as we nitpick around, you know, Canada versus UK versus US. Obviously, they're all very different. But this is exactly the point here is if they report 2.1% inflation, Brendan, and then next month it becomes, you know, 1.9% or 2% or something around there. And then, like I say, we get into August or September later on in the year, and now they're printing, you know, 1%, 1.5%. It's something that, of course, I sympathize with everybody who's been squeezed by inflation over the course of the last 3 years. But it is something that I say quite often, which is you don't actually want a deflationary period, or when we finally get sub 2% inflation, it's going to have adverse effects. And I think the conversation, especially for a Bank of England, and remember that all these central banks are meeting the first 2 weeks of June. That's going to be a crazy, crazy period for every asset class. But yeah, I think you make a great point. The difference now between UK's interest rates and inflation are potentially going to be more than 3%. And so that's definitely plenty restrictive. Is it too restrictive? Is it going to make this backward-looking data look even worse come June, July, and August, and point to deflation and point to employment problems and point to a bunch of problems for companies situated in those countries, because now people aren't spending money and it's been too restrictive. And so, yeah, of course, a synergy to all of this. And what I also like to say about this type of problem is I'm glad I'm not the person trying to solve it, because I can talk about it, but knowing what to do if you're a central banker in the UK or Canada or the US, or especially Japan for that matter, has been a very contentious piece. They've done about as well as they can do on the ascent. The descent, I'm sure they're all very fearful of, and we'll see what they end up doing. But yeah, English inflation tomorrow will be real if they get that 2.1%, or if they get under that, if they print the one handle, holy smokes, you might see interest rates globally get annihilated.
And you and I have spoken to the fact that the US dollar has maintained, you know, levels, multi-year, multi-decade, in some cases, levels throughout this entire round trip here. But we are starting to see a little bit of a pullback here on not only the US dollar. I mean, that print this morning had the Canadian dollar down huge pre-market, I noticed as well, to be expected. What do we see the end result being here if, you know, inflation is starting to improve and things are moving in the right direction? How far back can this come?
Yeah, no coincidence whatsoever. I alluded to it earlier. No coincidence whatsoever that we're seeing such a run up in precious metals, industrial metals, cryptocurrencies. The stock market is at all-time highs again. A lot of this has to do with the increasing odds of rate cuts coming. And again, remember, when was the last time we saw all these highs in all of these assets? And I point out ETH. I know that there's stories going on in ETH around the ETF and everything, but again, these different assets saw all-time highs at the end of 2023, start of this year, when the market was pricing in 6 or 7 rate cuts in the US and a similar environment globally. It is now almost June. No one has cut interest rates. And you saw, I mean, look at that ETH chart. ETH got its butt kicked for the last couple of months as they priced out rate cuts. Gold and the stock market moved sideways for a little bit. They're all back to all-time highs. Copper, I don't know if any of you guys trade copper out there, blowing out all-time highs. And a lot of this has to do with another turning of this trend in the last couple of weeks, which is, oh man, we might start pricing in some of these rate cuts. We're now back in the US to 2 or 3 25 basis point rate cuts here this year. And it's all happening synergetically with the lower printing inflation and some of the lower employment data that we've been seeing globally. And so we'll see what it means for Forex markets, because keep in mind, Forex markets are competitive with each other. And so, for example, if Japan just stays glued at 0%, but the US cuts from 5.5% to 4.5%, the US dollar might lose some value, but it's not necessarily, now trading with a lot less demand than a Japanese yen at 0% interest rates. But you are starting to see that US dollar lose some luster as people are selling dollars to buy gold, to buy crypto, to buy these other markets that are getting an injection of liquidity and demand because interest rates are once again projected to move lower. Again, we haven't gotten any cuts yet. We haven't gotten the 2% prints in the US. So are they pricing this in once again just to price it out? We'll see. If you think so, then you've got plenty of all-time highs to sell into. But this might be a classic case of, you saw the big move in December and January, pricing in 6 or 7 cuts. You saw the big reversal, and now they're going to meet somewhere in the middle. And that's been good enough for all-time highs in several asset classes.
Yeah, I mean, you pointed to it earlier in the conversation, but I mean, if there was a scenario in which they wanted to get to be in when this happens, I mean, all-time highs across the board, for people to sell into, definitely a good one to be. All right, coming up, next stop, June 11th, we get CPI, we get FOMC June 11th, June 12th, so the Fed decision June 12th. CPI is June 11th, so still a couple of weeks to go here. Great stuff. Frank Caberna, Director of Strategy over at IG in Chicago. Good to see you.
Thanks, Brennan.
Average. Let's go down. Let's go.
I am muted. Dropping science, raising markets. I just noticed something on GameStop that I'm going to take a breakout for. Look, yesterday, I was off yesterday for GameStop when this happened, but asked Sean, was there any news here? It was just like a technical break on a huge volume. Late in the day, it broke like $20.50. Well, it's doing a similar, like, make a bottom, consolidate higher, 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 and then a top break at the open would be $20.35 right here. So I'm kind of looking for a break of $20. It's a random price, I know, but $22.35, I should say. So $22.35, I'm going to look for a breakout. If it does the same thing it does yesterday, that's a bit ridiculous, but it's starting to ramp up. There's a buyer right now pressing it a little bit higher, but I want to get that order locked and loaded to go. And again, it doesn't necessarily, sometimes it's just a technical break and then the squeeze happens because you have shorts that are leaning on it all day that just decide to start covering en masse. The same thing happens and does have to move. I think the potential is going to be there. While that was all going on with Frank, Amazon took out the local high. It's bounced off VWAP. I got out shorting off a lower high here on Amazon. I am still in the arm trade. It's still right in the same consolidation level, hasn't broken up, hasn't broken down as the market is creeping higher. And I just noticed now AMD is at VWAP, but for most of that move while Frank was talking to the upside, AMD was just chilling out at the lows. So if we are gonna pull back in, AMD's been a relatively weak stock. Might have to come back to this well underneath VWAP. As long as it's above, I'd be more patient, but if we crack back down below, I might look for that short opportunity. So GameStop, it's a random level, but $22.35 was the morning range high.
All right, I mean, now Tesla's coming back down, so finally we'll take $1 on the downside of it. But again, we got stopped out. We talked about this. We're playing it back through. Let's see what happens. We talked about playing it back through 186. Look, I'm not happy that before we went to Frank, we had this short right here, like just building it. We knew there was going to be I mean, there's always a top somewhere. Whether or not it's the top, I don't know. We're just into power hour right now, and here comes Tesla fading back in a little bit. So we're taking out the 50 period. This is the first time we took the 50 period out since we started ramping at 130. So 130, this name was $181. So like, I did not, she did not call. But I'm wondering if the buying has now been over with. We're now $1.30 in the money on Tesla, starting to go lower here. We're short 186.30. It hasn't been a good trade. We wanted to get more near 187. We sort of talked about that, but here it comes right back in. I'm bidding 184s. Like that little dip down right there is 184.35. I'm going to put a bid at 184.71. See if we can get a move back down to the downside now, as we're $1.30 in the money. So we'll spin it right now for that trade. And we did talk about this. We talked about getting it back down through. So, yeah, I know. People are like, yeah, it worked. It worked. Yeah, it worked. I mean, going short was fine. But at the end of the day, getting hit all the way up is not good. So the pullback in is fine. Corning on the other way, I mean, this is NFT. Like, boom. VWAP, VWAP, 50 period, 50 period, 50 period. Like, this is the stock. This is going to be, as we said, obviously we've lost enough money now on Tesla. I can't put that into PL number one. PL number one today will be Amazon, and then number two will be Corning. And Amazon was huge right off the jump. We haven't done anything really since. Just this short, again, fighting it, boom, came right back in. And this was, on here we wrote down Tesla short early, and that was wrong. But we had Amazon as well short, and that one really paid off. It's good when that's your number one idea, a name that you've done work on in the sticky note. We just bounced off 185. That could be the bottom. Our best out is 40s right there or so. 185 just stopped. So momentum could build back up now to the upside. We are out of about 60% of the trade. So we'll hold the rest and see if we can get a downside push there into the close. And then the market just continues. We were short, remember, we were short and we got stopped there. But we held a little bit, got some out and went long, actually back at 64 now. So short. Now we're dealing with the 64 long. I don't know. The market's been really choppy today. When the NASDAQ is up 0.04 on the day, it is going to be tough, especially when the Q's right here, although we're up from the open, obviously. It's been a nice trend long. We were able to buy that dip because, look, when we were short, if this is not trading, like there's 64. We noticed that it was a problem getting out. So when it came back in, we got long. So pretty simple trading right there on the NASDAQ. So yeah, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and let's get this party going here. Maybe Tesla goes back up. I'm shorting in front of 187.
187. Oh, I'm not going to finish that one. You guys know the rest of that and exactly how it goes. AMD just got back to VWAP. So I just shorted it underneath VWAP to the local high. And that CTNT stock, I said, okay, well, fine. Either it halts down or makes a test of $1. Otherwise, forget it. Well, it's kind of here now. It's at $1.13. It's pretty much like look, it's not really slowing down because the speed at which it's been moving to the downside has already slowed, but it's making a bit of a bid. The low is 110, so another press lower, and I think you get a test of that dollar level. If it breaks $1 and comes back up, or if it halts down, like I said, I might look for like a scalp trade, just in long back through, or in off of a halt, back into the upside, like a reopen, and then sort of take out a top level, and then throw a stop in, and then see where it can go. It's clearly under a ridiculous amount of pressure, and if it does halt, I'll let you guys know, but the dollar level is the other one that we will have a look at. Oh, GameStop's still in play, but it just pulled back into VWAP here, so a little bit of a dip into VWAP. I'm taking the breakout off the opening range top, but maybe even the VWAP dip could be good here. It is trend up, like it's stair-step to the upside. And if it's going to do a late day rally like it did yesterday, I mean, that move was right at like 350. It's not to say it's just going to do it because it did yesterday, but stranger things have happened. it did tag down to SSR. So it is, like, it's short sell restricted because it was down over 10% at one point today. I should have mentioned that's another reason I like the long. So I'm going to go for a VWAP play in here. I'm going to leave the order for the stop just in case that's what comes first. But I want to buy a dip into VWAP, just looking for a late day rally here into GME. Down 7%, but as I said, the stock is going to be short sell restricted today. And then again tomorrow, which does help if you're looking for bounce plays.
All right, another out right there, bang on that one. Siren alert here because the market's trying to go higher, and we just got to pull back up into 30s again for the TQQs off of that. So boom, we'll take that. All right, Tesla's trying to fade out again. We already talked about Corning. All right, tonight's report. Do we have the earnings sheet? I know there's really nothing, but is there a board or? There is a board. Okay, we'll wait for it. We'll wait for the board and then I'll review it. There isn't a whole heck of a lot, but join me tonight when we will have Brian Shannon on. And, you know, he gave the pick of basically the year last year, you know, despite Eli Lilly, you know what I mean? Or Alibaba. But no, Ethereum, we talked about that last week and he built it out, why he liked it. All right, so for me, Toll Brothers is going to be big, that ETA. We're not expecting Toll Brothers till 4:30, so you might miss that one on the after show. But you will have Urban Outfitters, URBN, expectations of 49 cents with revenue of 1.17 billion. Its last move on Urban was 13%. We'll see if we get something similar today with 9%. And then tomorrow morning, you're right back into retail land again. With Target and TJX. I prefer TJX, but yeah, and then wow. I mean, tomorrow's going to be huge because you're going to have China play, right, with PDD, and then you also have Nvidia tomorrow night. So Williams-Sonoma's been on fire as well. Wow, yeah, it doesn't stop. So not much tonight, but a lot tomorrow.
That just means that lots of trade to go over tonight, and then a fantastic guest as always. Sometimes, you know, you want that lull before you get the fireworks of Nvidia, but Pinduoduo got, smoked is not the right word. It's only down 1.4%, but smoked off the highs would be the best way to put it on PDD. It is getting top heavy going into those earnings. Just right back into its 52-week high, and then a couple of days into the downside. I got like 135 marked off in case it bounces off that level. I do want to be, I only ever trade this around those earnings, but how many Chinese stocks can you look at that are upward trending that bounced off the 200 period moving average? Like that looks like a big cap. Like what am I looking at? Like an Apple chart or something like this? Where you pull back right into the 200 period and then just go right back into the highs. So PDD kind of has been the one, to my chagrin, because I own Alibaba, though that's still in the money. So I just picked up a little bit of GME in front of that high. I still think the 2235 is a breakout, but on the way up, we'll see if we can't scalp some into that high. I've seen JB and a few people in the Rivian Millionaire, JB, all mentioning Snowflake for some reason. And it is bouncing, don't get me wrong, off of the lows here. But I'm just curious what the catalyst might be or why we're that interested in it, particularly today. When I look at the daily chart, yeah, this can break at 166 and change. That looks pretty good for Snow, get back above the 200 period moving average, like lots of opportunity here, and maybe it's making a bottom break. But yeah, I'm not really sure exactly why we're interested specifically in Snow. A 166 break looks fantastic for it on the longer term, but it is catching a bit of a bid after being a dog all day long into a strong NASDAQ under VWAP the whole way. I haven't checked out Palantir today, but I'm going to assume if Snowflake is down, it's probably down too.
Yeah, we really like Snowflake. We've recently bought Snowflake in the 150s, so that's going to be a good one. And look at Tesla right there. I said, oh man, we could have diamond hands all we want to, but when we're in the money $1.30 on Tesla, when we've been getting hit on it, we're going to take some profits. So, wow, the market, we are starting to go. I mean, it's not even like it's going that high, but like honestly, when I'm seeing these fills on the TQQ come in, I'm like, what? So we just went right back up to day's high again after flipping over to the long. Man, that call was great. Man, do I hate Apple getting stopped out there because this is the day maker for me if we still had that. Obviously, coming back up to day's high, I don't think we would have predicted that much, so we would have been out of this. But Apple right now, I'm not going to stand in the way of this. And I have not exited anything, man. We're in at 169 change on this name, sort of in our swing account. And I'm debating just honestly, maybe getting out of half. Like I own so much of Apple long term that it's insane. But Apple, yeah, that would have been a sick long. Something's broken. Corning right now, 36.80 right here to the upside. Is it Adara or?
Talk to us, or?
I go to Adara? Yeah, all right.
Keep an eye on TOST here, seeing this pop up on Benzinga that apparently traders are circulating, that a newsletter has named Toast as a long idea. We did get a nice pop up. Again, not seeing any specifics here, but just some positive energy on TOST, getting highest volume candle of the day on that move up here, guys.
So that stock is not Toast after all.
Not after all, no.
No, apparently not. But I feel like that's like a decent short float on that Toast, at least the last time I looked at it. I mean, good look, I appreciate everyone in the chat for reminding that Snowflake reports, but they're after, not tonight, they're after the bell tomorrow. Like if it was making if we were looking for a rally into the report after market tonight, like I'd been like, okay, like maybe it's going. But with another full day of trade, we'll see where it goes. I mean, it's not only Nvidia that matters. There's going to be plenty of other earnings names. They're going to make some potential moves. I've never owned Snowflake, but it's certainly one that we've traded. I'll never forget the IPO, not just for the sheer fireworks, but it was a good one on the floor. Certainly back when you could just, I guess you still can sometimes these days, just take that opening print trade. Although I think it's a little bit different. You got to let it trade off the open instead of just grabbing that opening print. But Snowflake was way higher than anybody anticipated, and everyone thought it was way too high, and it was still a good long off the open anyways. Just showing how gimmicky that trade would be. GameStop still trying to make a run at that high. We dip bought 21.5. It just got into the 75.80 range before it checked up a bit. But ARM, we shorted this consolidation. It's pressing for the highs. It's pressing for the highs. If it takes out a fresh high, then we're jumping out of this trade. I don't want to add unless it's on the way down or in a consolidation. So this market's continuing to go. I don't see a reason to add to it unless I see weakness in ARM. The market is super, super strong, as we can certainly see. Like the NASDAQ's taking out these fresh highs. GameStop probably doesn't care about that. I'm just looking at what happened yesterday. And if it does half that, I think there can be a good long in there. Jason's saying Macy's is looking good. Macy's with a great recovery today. This was a dog all morning long, and now it's up 3%. Right back to where we were, essentially at 9:30, where it was gap to the upside. Sometimes you just got to wait it out. The hold off VWAP was pretty good. You know, I'll slap a fail on myself for not going back to this when it started holding VWAP, but I kind of wrote it off when it failed in the morning. Said, yeah, no breakout. I had a 2010 breakout set. It never broke out that top. We might get that tomorrow, that 2010 break on Macy's, or even today.
Yeah, we were in down 1950. We are actually okay on Macy's until it broke the level. SOX L, eh? All right, so we got out of another piece there. You saw me get out of Tesla. I have Nvidia on my mind at 185. That seems to be good. We'll reload this at 186, but not sure as market continues to go higher. Q's continuously going higher. Look at Corning. That just fell in. We have almost nothing left right now of Corning. So we'll probably get out of that if it takes that level. All right, waiting for Tesla to go to the downside. Zoom setting up. What's up, David? Thank you for the super chat, Mr. David. We'll find out right now. Zoom setting up for tomorrow. So Zoom already had earnings. Yeah, it's not doing anything right now. We always like to think that, hey, why are we just kind of hanging out? Zoom yesterday, it had an implied move again of 8%. It was really nothing again on earnings. I mean, up and down, and then at the end of the day, you still settle at the 50-period moving average. I like the stock. You know, the fact that we're not down, it is obviously a decent PE name. I'll have to find out what it is. I think it's actually lower than what I think. Zoom trying to bounce off 63. I like this long. I think for tomorrow, yeah, you get a 63 opportunity. I think you want to buy it. So that's a good one, 63 tomorrow. Good look, David. I like it down there. Looks fine to me. I mean, the earnings call, 62.50 on the 20-minute. So good support down there.
We were asking about the whole, I don't trust this Kathy's arc for the actual cost basis on Zoom. It doesn't seem believable because it says $278. That doesn't seem plausible to me. It's still like a number 9 holding.
I buy him.
But yeah, I'm not completely convinced that that's actually true. 278 that can't really be her actual price. So I'm questioning how well Kathy's arc is actually keeping those cost-based price together. But it is still number 9. It's a top 10 holding. I almost said Corning because you're in it. CTNT, which is like Cheetah something, something. It did bounce exactly off of $1. So it made the bounce here. Right there, my mouse is like so dirty. I need to clean the mouse or get a new one. But it's starting to lag. It did bounce one time off $1. I got some here at 10. My stop is right under $1. If it goes under $1, I'm just gonna get out of that trade. But it was a $1 hold or a halt that I wanted to play off of. So either it holds this dollar right now, or we're just gonna jump out of that one. Might look for still, it's 320, so there's always a chance it could still do something a little bit different, like a halt trade downside that we could take, but there has not been a single halt. There it goes, it just broke. I got out at 98 on that, so not that bad slippage. The stock just continues to flush after a big aftermarket move. It just continues to go down. That dollar hold does not work, so we'll slap a fail on it, but that's where I wanted to take the shot. It was gonna be either at $1 or off a halt. If it can hold above $1, maybe there's a halt up style trade, but this stock, it just needs to do something, I think, like capitulation-wise. Still, I want that to make it happen. Taz is saying, please check PSNY. Polestar, you know what's interesting was, remember that big fill at the open? The big order that we're showing, 6 million shares, was on the bid at 103, and we're pointing that out in the pre-market show. It filled and broke that order at about 145, and if you just took, I mean, I wasn't watching it at the exact moment, but if you look at the chart, all you had to do was short when it broke that guy on the bid, and it hasn't really recovered since. It's just sort of chilling out underneath. So I don't wonder if you couldn't have just hit that as it was going or shorted 02s underneath that level, comes back to 03, and still holding lower. So Polestar is going to be SSR down 10%, just failed $1 today. But do not forget, that 103 is not some random price. Someone parked a 6 million share bid all day long at that price, starting in the pre-market, and the second that that was broken, right to the downside. I mean, hindsight being 2020, it was probably worth a punch. And I'm sure you could have gotten it, unless the stock is SSR, which it might have been. You might have had to sit on the offer and hope to get the fill. Let's go back over to the desk with Adara.
Thank you so much to our sponsors here at VinFast. Attention electric vehicle enthusiasts, VinFast has teamed up with automotive giant Bosch to give you access to a massive network of 700,000 charging points across 30 European countries. That's right, with this partnership, you can now embark on epic European road trips with confidence, knowing you'll always have a charging station nearby. The VinFast app and in-car system will make locating, charging, and paying at Bosch's vast network a breeze. Plus, you'll stay ahead with the latest charging tech and top-notch customer support. Get ready to conquer Europe and your VinFast EV like never before.
All right, yeah, check out VinFast. Pretty hot car there for sure. We're going to get out a little bit now. Thanks, Adara. We're going to get out a little bit more now at 34 here on the TQs if we're able to. So there it is. We do get some out as we rip back up to the upside a little bit here. Rip. I mean, it's not really moving. There's some 34 prints as we go through it. So nice move now for the Qs. I'm thinking about, obviously, as I get lighter on this, kind of like the short into the close. I don't know. It hasn't been really right. We called the bears. We were like, where are you, bears? And they came out, but it only went down to 18,750 before making that move. Okay, here we go. Now we're starting to fall back in a little bit. So getting out of some of these trades may be good, and was debating flipping into the short. Still 322. There are lots of opportunities. We're $1.30 in the money on this Tesla short, which has been nice. Made some money back on that one. Remember, we got hit early going short at 176 before womp, all the way to the upside, and then just layering into it, which now it's starting to come down finally. But still having a hard time. We only have one out here at 185. I told you I'm trying to get out at 184.70s. So this move is 184.50. So a little bit of a push down here for Tesla, and hopefully we'll be able to get that in. The biggest, the missed opportunity for me, I see that Neil has it up right now. We wrote down GME at 20 bucks. And I mean, we only have 5 ideas here on the sticky note today. And I mean, it's right there. It's GME 20. We talked about it. We liked it. Fortunately, wasn't here to take it, but that was a great trade. And now it went up to 22.50 and change. So GME continues to go. All right, Tesla, let's go. I mean, if you're riding, we said, let's play the short back down through 186. So we have that trade right now. We were in it too early, but here it goes again. Nice move back in for Tesla. Now $1.50 in the money for that. TQ's 30 cents, Corning 60 cents. So far, so good here this afternoon.
Yeah, Pickle, it was not $1 winner. It was 70 cents on GME. I said I would get out in front of that morning high. which was right in here. I tried to grab this long right there on GameStop. Didn't quite grab it. It is still trend up. If it does anything resembling yesterday's, like this thing pumped $2.50, and it was all over in just three 3-minute candles. So it was all over in 10 minutes. So I would suspect that's 3 in a row. I should be looking for some kind of a dip buy now if it's going to be in the next phase. So maybe 22s, maybe again at VWAP. It's still super strong, only down 2.4%. It is short sell restricted. So as it comes back down in, there is that chance that the shorts can't really pound that bid at some point. And it could make a turn at that $22 level. ARM is still, I mean, the market's trending up, but I wanted to show some weakness. It just pulled back in and is putting a lower high. So I said I would only add to this if it showed me some weakness off that high, which is what I see happening on ARM. So we're gonna get a little bit more in here, but it is GameStop with 30 minutes to go. I do like playing, like if something is showing you a squeeze into the close, it has aftermarket potential. But I do see the trend definitely reversing here on GameStop and previous resistance turning into support at 22. I'm going to like that on the dip buy. Just give it a few shots into the close here. At about 350, I would give up. It just tapered off at exactly like 355 yesterday, so I would suspect as it comes to the end of the day, this could slow down. But GME trying to squeeze a little bit here. I have seen Nvidia try to move. Gotta watch out for ARM because Nvidia is still at that 950 level, but not exactly breaking higher. Nvidia started out red, obviously went green. It's putting in a lower high as well. If this pulls back into VWAP, then ARM might be okay there, to be sure. But gonna be all about this GameStop, I do think. You know, like I feel as if sometimes the best moves are the ones where people have given up on the stock. And it was trend down, trend down, trend down 2 days in a row before catching a bid, and then after catching the bid, breaking it out through VWAP. I mean, the pattern's there. Sometimes you just go for the pattern and keep it simple. It did it yesterday. It showed you the same pattern again today. The difference is I want to take a shot at this dip buy. There was one very late, but that's in the aftermarket. But this would be a little bit different because it ran here at 3 o'clock instead of at 3:50.
All right, we finally get that. Yeah, we love some GME there. Good look on that. It's too bad we don't have that, but good look there for Neil. All right, Tesla's now $2 in the money as it just keeps going. We just got that 70 fill that we thought we could possibly get. It just went. It broke through 50, so we're not quite. Now we're only $1.70 in the money. But we did get a little bit of a wick lower there. What was that? 55s. So now it's trying to bounce upside again. We only have 30% left. Ah, well. Nice move to the downside, made a little bit back on that. TQ's doing that, Corning doing that. All right, so Tesla is pulling back. So there we go. That's a decent trade there. Just looking at IBIT. Come on, Tesla, bring the pain back down. I'm just bidding wherever on that one. IBIT, Bitcoin, trying to find a base here. It looks like it's trying to take out the bottom, right? So watch out for Ethereum, 3790, looking to go a little bit lower here on ETH rate now. I don't know if there's any news or anything, but we're trying to break 3,700, the 69. So there goes IBIT breaking lower as well. Here's ETH.
Doge is breaking down.
Yeah,
too.
here's Doge. Here's ETHE starting to go downside as well, breaking through 33. We traded this a bunch today. A couple thousand shares traded today on Ethereum, now breaking lower. So here we go. Again, the stock itself it's still moving. I'm not going to open up the chart, but there it is. Nice move down 33, so I want to be able to watch it. So let's see if we get a bounce now as the ETF starting to get hit. I don't see any news or hear anything, but again, with Bitcoin, it had its day sort of. I don't know, like we opened up and since the morning, I mean, we're just really trending and now we're finally starting to break. This bodes real well, in my opinion, for this Tesla trade. So let's see what happens now for Tesla as the market pulling back in. So far, so good. Getting out of TQQ, getting into Tesla. What's up, Chase Bands and everybody else as well. GME starting to fall, we see that. But right now, I'm also just get out of Corning. I'm basically out of it. So we'll punch out of that. Well, maybe we'll punch out of the TQs because we said we didn't like what was happening. So we're almost out of everything now. So let's just play safe, do that, watch these futures, see if the market falls or not. But that's a nice move up for the NASDAQ at highs, taking out all-time highs today. So Again, congrats NASDAQ. What did we just get out of? Okay, we just got out of the TQs there, so end that trade. So that's a good one there. We'll spin the money on the long off that bottom and just make sure we cancel all of our stop orders and get out of this corning before it falls down too far.
Yeah, I mean, I think this in the simplest form, that corning trade, like when you get like a trend like that for any catalyst, when you get a trend like that, you're looking for a way in, right? So it's at the end of the day, if you find a way in, you just got to roll with it. I wouldn't be surprised. It was 7 days in a row, I think you said it was up, or?
Yeah, maybe even more than that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can count them up on
it
the
basically has like 2 red days in the last 20.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, what would you favor tomorrow?
Wow, bye-bye.
Not sure.
Yeah,
Dude, Coinbase just dropped $4.
Yeah, Tesla dropping $2.
Every single crypto name, Doge, ADA, like all of those were pushing back in. Mara was looking like it was catching a bid. Now it's dropping back lower. Mara was already relatively weak, so this is the one I want to try and take a consolidation short on here in Mara. But that was like across the board, all of these crypto names. Do we not have locates on Mara? Okay, they're probably really cheap. I'm just going to go ahead and get them because it's still in the pocket, but they're probably like 1/8 of 1 cent a share. I was only looking long this morning on Mara. Didn't even realize that we have to pay for locates. Shouldn't take too long, but it's under VWAP. It's been relatively weak. I saw every single crypto name push down. If it holds its consolidation bottom, I think a tested low is at least reasonable for Mara. So I'm just going to get a quote, and my guess is 1/8 of 1 cent because generally speaking, it's easy enough to borrow. Yep, 1/8 of 1 cent per share to go short on Mara. I don't think VWAP's going to be the play. I think back into this flat bottom break 21.5. It's sitting at 40s right now, so I just accepted, and we'll see if we can get something in the 40s on Mara. Now, you could look at any of these names. I just felt like Mara was a little bit weak relative to the group. As I said, Coinbase downside, but bouncing off of VWAP, and Mara a little bit different. All of the actual spot tokens that I looked at were all pretty weak as well, with a bit of a downward push. But Mara, 21.5, going to give it back into that level. Apparently, Shiba Inu, we don't have quotes on that one. I'd have to look it up on my Binance or something else for SHIB. But we do have ADA, we do have Bitcoin ETH, and also a missing one. Dogecoin.
Do we have Solana?
It's a weird 4. No, we don't.
We don't? Okay, I don't know.
You know, I don't think we have Solana. I think it's those 4. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's just those 4, which is weird that we'd have Doge and not Solana now that you mention it. It's a good point. I mean, I guess
yeah, it's okay. We'll figure out what it is.
No, we don't have it. No,
Okay.
maybe we do. We have 5 then.
Okay.
We do have Solana.
All right. So here it is. So this is what's trying to happen right now. This is Ethereum. It's trying to go a little lower here. I don't know even how to get rid of that. How the heck do I get rid of it? Oh, there's a headline there? Is that what happened? That's 3 hours ago. Okay, so we're not about that. Nice move to the downside right here, trying to break 38, trying to get back up to 37 now. We actually did break 38, which was the problem. That was all the way up here. But right now, it was 37.20, that sort of shelf that broke, which started this sort of instant move to the downside there. So looks like we'll be catching a bid. I don't hear anything. I haven't heard anything right now about why this is happening. I'm playing a little bit short here. You can't see it, I'm short at 46. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. We'll wait. Ethereum right now, trying to get back above, well, you can see 3,700. So if it does that, we can punch out, hopefully, and get out of some shares here. But for right now, we'll hold that short. $2 in the money on Tesla, that's still going, so we're pretty happy with that. We're short right now at 48s, on Ethereum. So that's where we're short right now, 48, so right here. And then Tesla short at 86.40s. So you guys can see, well, you can see it on the board. So that's what we have right now. Seeing if we want to get some more downside push here for ETH.
Well, what just happened on AMD?
AMD's
AMD
moving
just
around.
started
Pumping, I guess, 'cause
It
the
wasn't
market's going.
like it wasn't that strong, but the market got going again, and then this candle just happened on AMD. Suddenly, this thing wants VWAP pretty nicely. That is the biggest green candle since the morning. The volume picking up pretty nicely as well. I did get into that Mara trade. As I said, we had to pay for locates here at Real Trading, but yeah, this gets up. I mean, 165.5 is where I wanted it before, or underneath that VWAP. 65 doesn't look bad. I'm into Mara. I'm looking, but Nvidia is pressing as well. Yeah, Nvidia is about to take out the high of the day. Right,
That's probably what's doing this.
Yeah, you know what? It's Nvidia. This is not. Yeah, Nvidia making a press at the high of the day. It looks like. So let's see it test that. I'll probably get stopped out of arm in that move. I don't necessarily think it's going to matter too much with Mara, but the NASDAQ is coming into that high, just looking for that relative weakness. I'm still trying to add to Mara for now anyways. And then I want to jump back into Amazon. We had Amazon first time good, second time not so much. This is continuing to break out a little bit. Amazon's trying to go red to green in here. And just for a quick look at early imbalances, I'm not necessarily expecting anything. Enbridge is an early 3.7 million to buy. That's kind of random. And then Pinterest and pretty much nothing else. G-Wave is a penny stock. I feel like G-Wave is there as penny stock every single day on the imbalances. But Enbridge 3.7 to buy is the only significant early look imbalance name. So Amazon's strong, still seeing a press up in Nvidia as it's getting to that high of the day. I want to see it reverse a little bit here. And GME is 20 cents away from VWAP for a potential bounce.
All right, we're starting to crush a little bit here, the Ethereum trade, as we're starting to print 20s and 30s, starting to go shorter here on this. It's hard to see. We're short right now because the prices are kind of random. I'm just taking like as many fills as I can sometimes at places. So we are starting to push lower now, 36.90 coming into play here, and we're going lower on ETH. So right now we are short 32.45, so we're about 20 cents in the money. And again, you got to be careful with it. Like I'll put a bid down here. Maybe we get filled, maybe we don't. Liquidity a little sparse. This is not, there we go. We just got a 31. As you can see, all these prints right there. So we'll take some 31. You really got to read tape and try to figure out where the prints are coming from. Makes it a little difficult, but that's the OTC markets. We have Jeff Mendel on all of the time. All right, so there it is. We're trading it. You can see quite aggressively. We've traded thousands of shares of this already here today. So far, I shouldn't say I have traded thousands of shares of this so far here today. ETH downside right now. We started earlier shorting, buying, just back and forth. There it is. Look at this, nice little move back up. We just got like a 59 print. Look at that, 37.10. You see what I'm saying? Like this is why you have to be so careful to watch out. Like that print just printed 59s before blowing back up to the upside there. So be very, very careful. We just got a huge pump right there in ETH. Sending this name back up to the upside. We're getting lighter on it. We don't have much to worry about. We do have an earnings kind of alert with AMD, obviously on not their earnings, Nvidia tomorrow. We're short right now, AMD. This would be a dangerous name if it was tomorrow, but we still got a couple days to go of trading today, the last 20 minutes plus all of tomorrow, and then Nvidia will come through. I'm going short against 165. We've been here before and haven't broke. We're at the 200 period. I see the markets really rallying here. We did get out of our TQs long, but we're back into the AMD short. So we're short at 78 right now on AMD. Let's just put a bid at 68. We'll take a dime if we can, and then lower, lower, lower into the close. But being short a market that has really trended upside right there may be a mistake, but we were able to take some profit at least on what is now a mistake getting out there. But look at the TQs, buying that dip and then out. Sure, it's ripping right now. Happy with that trade though. Come on, AMD, just pull back a little bit into 164.60 and we'll start to cover, I promise. Again, nice move back up for Ethereum.
Yeah, speaking of moves back up, GameStop does not find a bid at VWAP. If it showed any kind of a bounce or any green or any consolidation, I was going to go into the long, but you can see it's just all red, 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 red. If it gets down to 20.5 again, I mean, that could be a little bit of something. But that Nvidia move is getting spicy, spicy, spicy at the high of the day and trying to break it out. So remember this morning when Nvidia was in the tank and all anybody could think about is, oh my goodness, Nvidia, it's getting smoked. This is the beginning of the end. Well, they bought it right back up into that high. It just wicked the top. I'm sitting in ARM and Mara to the south side. So in terms of this market, I'm looking for it to pull back in. Both that move in most of the crypto names and then the chips as well. So we already have a short off the high and then a short on a stock off of the low. The only other place that I was going to go was, like I said, over to that GameStop, but then you're not seeing it hold that bottom at all. Let me just get a quick, someone just said, I just heard it again in my ear. They keep updating on GameStop, like anytime it makes a bit of a move, and it just bounced off 21 even. I said 20.5 is where I think this could be a little bit more interesting for a dip buy on GME. Still a heck of a lot to go. We have 20 minutes until the close. Do keep in mind, while it might be light on earnings aftermarket, there are a few big ones tomorrow morning. I mean, Toll Brothers tonight's a pretty decent one, but tomorrow morning there's going to be some big ones, and PDD is going to be one of them. Just going over something we forgot to mention today. I had the long off of, and I'm missing data on this chart of Alibaba for some reason. I had the long on Alibaba pretty much off of these two bottoms here at 86.5. It didn't hold VWAP. Now all of a sudden it's trending to the downside. So it was a fail today going long Alibaba. And then we get Pinduoduo reporting after the bell, and it looks like this. It's also to the downside, getting a little bit top heavy. So this recent rally that we've been having in some of the Chinese retail online ADRs, well, a couple of signs that there's some sellers going into this PDD earnings play. So at least a little bit of concern with this recent rally. They both had. Now one off the bottom and obviously one nowhere near the lows. You tell me which is a better looking chart between Alibaba and Pinduoduo, and I will submit to you that PDD's is. However, my notion for why I'm long Alibaba, I got some in the 70s, I think right in around here at 71, and I said I'm not adding to this position until it closes above the 200 period moving average. It did so I added at like 80, I think I got like 80.70 or something on the 15th. So it doesn't matter at this point if one is a stronger stock than the other. I just liked it finally making a low and then making a higher low and a press up. Big test tomorrow morning when PDD reports. If PDD goes down, can Alibaba hold on to some of those gains is going to be the question. Is what it is. Chris J saying, let's go AMC and GME. Well, about that 2050, it's incoming. Like that breakout, it was just like yesterday. The only difference is yesterday it pressed at, I zoomed out too far for you guys here. Yesterday it pressed right at 350 or so, or 348. And then right before, or right pretty much at the close, or right before the close, it then pulled back in. Today it made the rally early, and then on the dip, there's just nothing left in it. So 2050 is incoming. It just made a bounce off of 2060. I want to see some buyers step into this thing. There's not a heck of a lot on the bid before I press into any kind of a long. Still exactly flat on Mara. Like I'm at 38 on Mara. Mara's at 39 by 40. So that's a flat trade. Still pressing into the high on ARM. But I said I would only add if it showed me some weakness. It's double top on ARM. I have bids down into the 115 and underneath. I'm looking for this GME potential bounce. I don't want to just sit on the bid while it's flushing, but I do want to get a look at some buyers coming in and then grab it maybe back through this 21 even. On the proverbial GameStop, it just took out 21s for a split second. I got 01s, and then it's right back underneath. So I'm going to give this to 2080 here on GME. Might be a flush, but remember, part of the reason I like this trade and looking for the longs, especially on the dips, is it's short sell restricted. So when it's SSR, I tend to favor looking for bounce plays, whether that's trend to the upside or wipe out bottoms and then recoveries through. So we're long at 21, we'll give it to 2080 and then see where it can go. GME is pure manipulation by short sellers, according to Sean in the chat, not our Sean, but another Sean in the chat. I don't really get into that stuff. At the end of the day, you just want to play the momentum as a trader. Leave the fundamentals out of it. Like, if you believe that, then you want to hold on and think that it'll go forever and this is going to go to $100 again. I don't necessarily believe in all that. I just look for individual trades. Like win or lose, I like 21 back into this 2180 bottom that it just put in. If that can't hold, then I got to wait out for the 20 level on its own. As far as the shorts go, Mara's starting to come back in, ARM's starting to come back in. We got about 15 minutes till the close, but 7 minutes until we get those imbalances. Don't really have an overall number for the early look, but there was nothing significant on that early board.
There's like nothing. I just got to reload a coffee there. There's nothing happening. I don't know. I came back, was like, oh, maybe AMD. Oh, that's good. Fabian, I put the Trade Ideas is on the other virtual desktop over there. Yeah, so I got to put it on the other one as we get ready to go for the market recap show. But right now, sure. Who has something to say? It's Adara has something to say over at the screen.
Going to take a quick look over at some of these S&P 500 names making larger moves that we haven't discussed as much, including Eli Lilly leading this group here. This is really strong to the upside, this one, after getting approval for its treatment for diabetes in China. So nice look there. Next up, we have here HPQ. HP getting this upgrade to equal weight and a $30 price target from Barclays. So nice look for this one as well. Last but not least, this one actually moving to the downside. AutoZone down about 3% on their earnings. They did beat GAAP EPS estimates, but they missed on sales. So AZO to the downside. Of course, lots of big moves across the board today, guys.
Like yours looks different from mine. Anyways, it's not a big deal.
No, it's because you don't have the, look, I'm going to show Neil something. Yeah, because you see on the chart, this is what you're missing. You're missing this.
Yeah.
This bar here.
It's something, yeah.
I'm going to drop an anchored VWAP on Snowflake from the highs right here to see what's going on. This is a daily chart, so there it is. So the anchored VWAP, we do have Brian Shannon coming tonight, so 177.50. I mean, that would be pretty sweet if we got, is that thing just on crack or we're doing that on purpose? Like it just goes up, up, back and forth. You know when you play Mario Kart?
Setting. Yeah.
What does everybody call that? I call it crack.
We all call it a crack.
Yeah, even
Everybody,
my kids.
No,
I'm like, all right, you're on crack, let's go. And then the guy, then you just, I don't know, it's that, the orange.
No,
mushroom.
it's well, invincibility, crack, whatever you would call it on.
It's not invincibility. No, it's
Well,
going
it's not
fast.
really. It's super
not
fast.
the star. The star is invincible.
What was it called? Phasing?
No, dude.
No, not phasing.
Wow, Fabian. Yeah, so, all right.
Yo,
I'm just trying to figure out what's going
they
on.
have Mario Kart at Junior J's for the Toronto Blue Jays. When they do Junior J's on Sunday, they have arcades set up in the outfield. They've got like pinball machines. The lineup for Mario Kart was out of control. Basically, you do one race. So like you wait in line with your kid, and then they get to do one race. I was like, play the pinball machine. You can play the pinball machine without anyone bothering you for like a half an hour. But Mario Kart, no one likes it at all.
Look at MSOS. What is that finally moving around? We will talk about some sectors. No, MSOS. This name got up to 11 and change, of course. But I mean, I don't know if the administration is doing some puff passing or what, but everyone's just sort of passing it off. And I don't know, we keep getting stories like there's going to be a change in the classification of cannabis. And then, you know, it's been a huge, to sit here and trade it every day, it's not super exciting to me anyways. Obviously, some of those plays have been good. But to say this hasn't been a good long would be incorrect. I mean, from the beginning of the year, it's really moved up. I mean, you got 6 up to 11, now pulling back into 9. I don't, you know, like here's a seed, put it in your back garden, grow it, and now you're all of a sudden competing with some of these other big names like a CGC or anything like that. I just don't think there's very many barriers to entry. I don't love these stocks, and CGC will show you just by the destruction. Our charts won't show it, but this has really been split and everything. CGC continues to get hit. They're up nice. They're up nice from what they are. It's like FFIE. It's like saying, oh man, this stock's been huge. Yeah, if you have it at 5 cents, but if you have it any other time than that, this has been a problem, as this is what FFIE actually looks like. But anyways, at the end of the day, yeah, good couple looks there for MSOS. I think you want to trade this name, not necessarily own it, but nice top. Sort of barcoding up here right now, bring it back down for MSOS and some of these marijuana names. Honestly, I don't really love the look.
Bring it on back to weed.
They're bringing it back to Weedville. If they sold some, pretty soon you'll be able to buy weed at Walmart around here, I'm pretty sure. Nice move to the downside right now.
I can see Walmart resisting that for a very long time.
I don't know what's gonna happen, but here's a nice move to the downside right now for AMD. I was just worried, I just sent all my kids, we have practice tonight. It's like 82 degrees here, but it's humid.
It's the humidity, dude. It's like an extra.
I told them all just bring extra water.
Add 10 to that with the humidity.
Because we're doing agility drills. No, we'll probably just field it nice and easy. All right, Tesla heading up into the close. Yeah, maybe. Only down. We only have 30% left of this trade. We had talked about that. Trying to get a little bit more short into 186 as the market's pulling back kind of as we had sort of hoped for. And there's AMD. I mean, the winners are right all over the place. What else can we do? Look at this trade for AMD. We actually picked this out perfectly. We're short AMD now 164.80. That's the high of the afternoon, right back into VWAP. So yeah, I mean, pretty happy for us taking that trade right there back into 164.50. If this market really tanks, then we've got it pretty good right now. Let's not give what we made in AMD back in on Tesla. So we'll take one more out here as Tesla seems to be ramping. This is probably a bad out. I completely understand that at 88s, but we're still in the money here, 50 cents. Let's make sure we take it. Now we only have 20% left. Average back in 186.50, basically the high, up to 187. That is that. We'll end that trade there. If we get up there. That's gonna be my last trade. 186, like 70s or so short into 187. And then if it breaks 187, we could get out and not have too much to worry about. Ethereum not doing anything, unfortunately. We still are in about 20% or so of this short, which paid off and now isn't, but not much happening on Ethereum. I thought once we broke 37, we could be into something. Seems like it got pretty resilient. It got bought right back up.
Yeah, they all kind of stalled out. Didn't want to interrupt us at Tesla. Good point, because at 350, when you have a big move in a stock, sometimes the imbalances can take it back in the other way. So if that stock was just tanking, maybe it'll snap back through. I like tightening stops in that moment as well. GameStop got back to VWAP and then wicked VWAP, so I jumped in and out 21 to 21.20 to 21.40, and that I will not take another trade in GME. And at this point, it gave a breakout of sorts. The dip buy into VWAP was better, but it's back underneath VWAP and starting to slow down a little bit. So not done yet, and it will be short sell restricted tomorrow because it was down over 10% today. So it's still very much in play for SSR. Mara holding, I guess it's more or less the exact same trade as it kind of looks like that Ether. Like it's just sideways since that dump, but no break back into the upside. ARM is back to essentially flat for me, but with 10 seconds to go, the imbalances can change all of that. I'm going to tighten my stop on ARM. Like, why would I be giving it? Oh, I have a lot of stops still out there that stocks I'm not trading. I'm going to tighten up my stop to 115.5 on ARM, because if it's not moving, I don't want to give it to the high of the day. Peloton with a buy and balance of 2.5 million. That's really the only thing that's there, over 1 million shares. Enbridge, we already talked about that. It always pairs off. Pinterest is 700,000. I'll give it a second maybe for some of the NASDAQ names to populate, but still nothing, like no Tesla, no Apple. Scrolling down here, I mean, Amazon 480,000, Google 470,000 to the buy side, both of those. But those are the two biggest. 500,000 shares on Amazon, 500,000 shares on Google to the buy side. Peloton 2.5 million is only slightly interesting, because if I saw big imbalances on Peloton too many days in a row, I might get the assumption that someone's trying to pick up some shares, and the only reason for that would be that maybe someone wants to buy them. But Peloton at the low of the day as we speak, down 16%. I mean, I guess it doesn't need an excuse to go lower, but wow, I did not realize Peloton was having this bad of a day at all. Yuck.
They must have raised or something again.
Something must have happened. I mean, I'm going to look
there. Okay. Just real quick. Yeah, we didn't look at Peloton at all. 164.80 on AMD. We just caught some out at 60s there. Like we mentioned, not too much happening right now on the imbalances. So we'll wait to see. Did we even get what that imbalance number was? Not yet. 3 what?
Huh?
There's something like 3 imbalance numbers. So I guess we'll get the NASDAQ one. Aye, Captain. Aye.
Why are we saying aye, Captain?
If I don't do what Ramin says, everything goes to shit.
Shiver me timbers.
Like,
what else are we
saying?
saying?
The recap show doesn't work. Nothing. All of a sudden, thing goes nuts again on the bottom. My mic starts getting cut out.
I'm drinking a lot of water.
Aye, Captain.
Why am I?
All right, we're back on with that one. Tesla is making me a little nervous as it goes back up to the upside, but we're almost out, so I might not just take this. I would really, right there, back down in. All right, AMD, yes, sir. Here we go. Let's spin it for AMD. So it's a nice little move back down to the downside here. So if you took, again, if you took the trades, we were short Tesla, eventually made money. We talked about that, blah, blah, blah. But AMD is pretty clean, all the way up there into the 200 period. Thank you. Come again. Boom, to the downside. We should have more of those trades, not less of those. So that was a good one there. Amazon off the open, great. TQQ, great trade there. Short until out. Then bottom pick, long TQs, good one there. Corning, where will we end the day? We actually have the highs a couple times here, so those were good outs for Corning, as that remains pretty flat. I got a lot of credit on Twitter and I retweeted it, so thank you. But honestly, the fact that we got stopped out there on Uber, again, we got stopped out there, went short, boom. Look where Uber goes, 63.80 on that short. Again, another name from here on the short, 65. We almost get there. What a good short that was for Uber earlier today. Tesla's starting to go up. So if you want to trade here into the close, it's 353. I was going to use 187 as the stop, right? But you could actually, if you think this is too extended, you could go short now. You're all the way back up to the day's high, but why would you want to do that? Because right now you're getting taken out back upside on Tesla. I could try a little bit here, but honestly, I was waiting for just like one more bump, and then, did you say what the imbalance was?
So it's $1 billion to buy on the NYSE. S&P 500 is 770 million, and then the NASDAQ is 55 million to sell. So generally kind of an up and bounce. And by the way, Apple, which wasn't there before, you guys saw, nothing was over 500,000, now 1 million to the sell side. I feel like we've seen this multiple times with Apple. Like, give it a couple of minutes after 350, and then the Apple imbalance shows up. So I'm going to make an adjustment just for myself. I'll always come back after a minute and then after 2 minutes, specifically to check for an Apple imbalance, because this just keeps on doing exactly the same thing. At 350, there's nothing, and then you see like a bit of a move. It did brush down about 20 cents or so when it came out of nowhere, that sell imbalance. Mara's like 3 cents in the money. ARM's starting to fall, but I mean, it took way too long to do this. So ARM, super strong stock. There was a story with regards to them and their chip in the Microsoft Surface tablets, which is a point of growth for them, and Microsoft was super strong today with that news. I think ARM got a little benefit from that. But strong day for ARM. And for Peloton, it was a senior notes offering. I mean, the stock, yeah, it's having a bad day, but it dropped 60. It dropped huge in the aftermarket yesterday and then tried to gap up. So this was a senior notes offering for Peloton. Almost $3. This could make another fresh low. If that gets to $1, it means somebody's buying it.
You'd think so.
Well, because, I mean, people still use them at the end of the day. Like
you have 7 million subscribers.
Yeah, you have a big base. Like, that's going to be worth something to somebody. I don't know what it is, but if it gets to $1, I've been saying if that stock got to $1, I'm taking a shot play on it, and why not? Might not even wait for it.
I'll take Peloton versus any other stock right now over the next 2 months.
Any stock?
Yeah, you want to pick one?
Yeah,
Peloton versus the stock you pick over the next 2 months.
No, but I do something stupid and pick like a REIT that just goes flat, and then all I have to do is not lose.
Yeah.
I know. I'll go. You know what I'm going to go with? For the next, is 2 months, you said?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to pick one because my most recent buy, I think reasonably, I should be going with that. So I'm going to go with Alibaba. Because I said I'm waiting for Alibaba to make the bounce play. Plus I want something which is, it's 355 for stocks pairing off. Peloton got cut in half. It's now only 1.2 million. Apple is gone. That completely paired off. I don't even see it anymore. So yeah, Apple completely paired. Peloton paired half of that. It was 2.5 million. Now 1.2. I'm gonna get it out of this arm trade. Now at 114.70. Actually, I'm gonna stay on the bid. Just move it up to the 50 level and just get out 114.5. Otherwise, that trail it into like the 80s or something. It finally moved to the downside, but that took a while. We're sitting in that one and touched the high of the day. Just maybe not patient enough. We shorted the lower high, waited for a little weakness, and then shorted it again. And now we get 114.50. But really, all of that was due to the imbalances coming out. Mara's flat. I'm just going to jump on the bid now because all of that movement to the downside in crypto. I mean, you see the flushes that are coming through elsewhere, but I'm not looking at a gift horse in the mouth. If you're even moving a few cents, whoops, we're still on ARM. I want to go to Mara.
And then the NASDAQ's going higher, so.
The NASDAQ's going higher, but ARM just sort of fell. I'm looking over at, look at Mara. Like, it just sat there doing nothing. After that big move down in all the crypto, this just went sideways. We're sitting in the short for another leg down. It goes up 10 cents. It comes back down. I get some out flat. I get some out for 4 pennies. But really, I'd say that was a nothing burger, a bit of a bid coming into those crypto names. Like Coinbase, on the other hand, was at VWAP. I'm like, well, I'm not going to short Coinbase because Coinbase is bouncing off of VWAP. Coinbase drops another $2, and Mara just sat there. So, okay, sometimes relative strength and weakness doesn't actually mean as much as you think, because Mara was the weaker one at one point.
Yeah, we'll have to watch out now because Ethereum is 37.17. Someone's saying like, why? I'm just in Tesla.
Go 70,000.
Kind of just like for shits and giggles here, honestly. Like if it comes back in, great. You know, we wanted to get it short against 187. We just
GME did it again.
We just got a 50 fill there. That was good. How did we get a 50 fill? I thought I was bidding 50s. What was I bidding there?
GME, by the way, was not on the
Sick,
imbalance. It just did what it did yesterday.
Yeah, ripped up. Okay, so it's still bad that we don't have that 20 long that we wanted there. So that sucks for us. But okay, so let's just see. Tesla trying to bounce around. We're short right now. We're winning on the short, so it's okay. You could see we're short at 70, winning. I mean, it's not moving. If it does get a little bit of a flush into the close, we'll have it, and we should be able to capture some decent wins on this, especially if we do get that collapse. So let's see. We're bidding 51s as if it's going to stop at 52. That's hilarious. All right, well, maybe I should get out then. One more flush. Don't hold that. Don't hold it, Kathy. Let it go. All right, let's see what happens to the end of the day here with only 1 minute left for that's crazy if I don't get those 51s, to be honest with you, where it's only 20 cents. But all right, let me put another bid. We'll punch up aside a little bit. There we go. We'll rinse out a little bit there at 54. Let's see if we can get a nice little close here. Looks like they're buying on the bid a lot here at the close. There we go. Did we get that 51? No, we did not. That's hilarious. Again, with less than 1 minute to go here, Tesla probably takes out that high at the end of the day because I can't get out of this short.
And unbelievable, like
we just got
again, GameStop puts in its biggest volume candles of the day in the last couple of minutes. Did this 2 days in a row. I scalped out, which was obviously a mistake. But at that point, I was kind of thinking, well, it did the move and it pulled back like yesterday. And GameStop says, no, we're not done. Right back into those highs. Maybe a 23 breakout tomorrow. Certainly tomorrow, no matter what, after 3 o'clock, just going to look for that buyer to step in again, whomever it might be that's buying the stock up, because that's now 2 days in a row. Even if it's a more shallow move, who cares? Let's get over to the bell, brought to you by True Trading Group. Supercharge your trading and ring it in 2 and 1, Adara. There we go. Again, that bell brought to you by True Trading Group. Scan that QR code below. GameStop closes at 22, so down 4%. But remember, like the stock was down double digits, so the fact that it's only down 5%, a pretty big win for them, I would say. Just going through some other ones. There's in terms of earnings, we know there's only like Toll Brothers aftermarket, some in the morning tomorrow. Nvidia closes the day green, up 0.6% after that Amazon news hammered it to the downside. Just an absolute ridiculous reversal for Nvidia. You can't say enough about this stock. They just keep buying it in droves, but tomorrow's going to be a different story because they got to have earnings to put up or shut up. You know how it goes. As mentioned with that Peloton, we'll see what happens with that, but there was kind of a big print. It was 1.2 million shares at the end of the buy side. Kind of moved up a couple of cents there. So if it has a buy and balances 2-3 days in a row, there might be something, but the senior notes offering late there, 15% to said downside. In terms of an aftermarket move here for GME, I mean, it's not really going. The move was into the close, it looks like. What a good pattern that stock had. What an unbelievable day for Nvidia. Hope you guys enjoyed the afternoon trading, whether it was like the TQs. I mean, at the end of the day, you had TQs, you had AMD, you had GameStop, you had Tesla going absolutely nuts. What an unbelievable day for Tesla. But shout out to Fabian and Ramin on the 1s and 2s. Ramin looking fantastic in the cool shades all day long. Not everybody can pull that look off, Ramin. It's all good. And in the midday, good job by the professor and Adara, as always in Learn to Trade. And ooh, now you're just chilling. See, that's what's up. Come, why you gotta leave? Why are you running away? Ramin. Oh, everyone could have chilled out. We could have closed the show. It would have been a heck of a lot of fun. But apparently not. Big shout out to Brennan. And as always, great guest, Frank Caberna. But you know what time it is? It ain't over because we got the market recap show. We've got Sean. We've got Adara. We've got some Toll Brothers earnings and a heck of a lot of crypto, Nvidia, and a whole lot of other stuff that you have heard of in your aftermarket recap. Let's go.
All right, what's up, everybody? Yeah, not too many huge, what's up, Adara? Not too many huge earnings reports coming through today, but we'll wait for Toll Brothers, we'll wait for Urban Outfitters.
Yep.
Both should be coming out pretty quickly. Then we have Brian Shannon, which I got to get that tweet out ASAP to have Brian come through. He'll be joining us today. We'll talk all about Ethereum. What a good move that was recently. Oh, I still have to log in to X as well. Great times. All right, today MSOS to the upside here as we talk about the sector watch. Why don't we hit the next topics and we can get that popping off right now as we'll go over the sector watch. K-Web downside, we got a little bit of some negativity coming through from China there today as some of the names back into the downside there, including Alibaba, down 2.4% to start with. I don't know, a little bit of a move in today for zoom one way or the other. There it is. Okay, Alibaba got going early, but then, yeah, faded out and kind of ended the day in the middle. Downside push to 85. If you're looking at a daily chart here for Alibaba, this name's been rocking to the upside, $90. And now there's that fade off 90. We talked about that as possibly becoming an issue. FXI, we've been really pounding the table on a lot of these Chinese names. FXI to the upside today for sure. Jets ETF down. I guess some airlines downside today. I don't know.
I know UAL was.
Did we get a story about that?
Well, I know there was that plane crash, unfortunately, in Singapore.
Oh, right.
I don't know if that impacted Boeing much. I know UAL was down, but I'm not sure if that's why it was. I just know that that's the one story I know in that space. All
right, I'm going to get the stock heat map going in just a couple minutes. But yeah, today, led by the NASDAQ. I mean, the NASDAQ was pretty flat all day. Didn't really give us too much to do. If you sort of zoom back out here, we'll go over to like a 3-minute chart. Again, we didn't get too much news. Let me just hold on a second. Go. We had Fed speak all day here today. So despite the recent moves in some names like Nvidia all the way to the downside, which sort of started this move in the NASDAQ early, we got that report of Amazon and Nvidia there, potentially delaying some of the purchase of those Blackwell chips. Got the NASDAQ going, but then at the end, the resilience wins and NASDAQ closing virtually at the highs of the day and near or at all-time highs again for the NASDAQ. So that just continues to work out. We always talk about the diamonds. We talked about that yesterday, potentially with Michael Noss talking about some relative weakness in the DIA, but today up 0.13. What was the spider up? 0.19. So diamonds still less, and then we just talked about NASDAQ, 0.17. So they're all kind of a mishmash today as far as what we were looking at. So individual stocks still don't have Urban Outfitters yet or anything. We do have everybody that's joining us right now in the chat. So what's up to everybody that's here right now? Sam says he would never buy Chinese stocks. MGOL moving again. That always seems to be moving. A lot of halts at MGOL today. We're not going to just
We actually do have Urban Outfitters.
Oh, we do have it. Okay, what does that look like?
So the only number I've compared to an estimate is Q1 sales, but that's actually going to be a beat. 1.2 billion here versus the 1.17 billion expected. So nice move to the upside there for URBN. Gross profit of 408.3 million here. Net income 61.7 million. Pre-tax profit 80.8 million. But again, the only thing I'm seeing with comparison to the estimate is going to be that Q1 sales, which were a beat.
All right, so there it is. Bang. Nice move there. Upside 4. So you got it right there. Nice beat. Now let's look at the charts. Urban Outfitters up to $45. Basically making that move. Its implied move with options today, 8. So you're at 7.5. You just went to 9% up to 45. And now pulling back very, very slightly. But Urban Outfitters, even on the daily right now, held. I'm always liking names that are in and around the 50 period that look like they're holding it into earnings. And there you go, right back up to the upside for Urban Outfitters. A lot of shaky hands there because we've seen, of course, some of the apparel names downside. But then we saw Walmart have a nice number. Tomorrow's number should be interesting from Target. That's coming through. As despite Walmart up here, look at the difference between the charts. Here's Walmart right now, taking out highs there, gapping higher and going, right? It had a nice consolidation, then earnings boom to the upside. Target actually the complete opposite right now, trying to break lower and breaking this 155 level. So if Target loses this, which it will tomorrow, it'll move on earnings tomorrow morning. I looked as maybe a 140 buy, something like that, but for some reason, Target just not performing as well as Walmart. And then TJX, sort of the discount retailer, doing much, much better. We've had stocks like Dollarama and Dollar Tree perform really well in this environment. TJX also holding out. I guess maybe Target does get a little bit of a different customer base potentially, but I don't know.
That's true too, yeah.
What about Williams-Sonoma? Wait a minute, they're coming out tonight,
They're
aren't
next. They're tonight. Or there's
tomorrow. There's something. There's Williams-Sonoma.
Sorry,
But
there's tomorrow.
I want to talk about the higher end consumer, because as I talk about Target being a higher end consumer, what about Williams-Sonoma? I mean, boom, look at this stock, right back to highs as well on the daily chart. So, and with an RSI just mid 60s, Williams-Sonoma looking pretty good. Wow, what a move we had today though in this big baddest stock around, Tesla.
Oh.
Look at that, 186.90 still, up 7% right there. Obi and I said maybe Tesla the first one to 200.
I said that as well.
Yeah, oh, you did, okay. Adara.
Oh, he said Tesla 200 in the back there, so he agrees.
I mean, he was live on the show yesterday when we went back and forth about it. And I just said, look, Apple is a great stock, probably beats it to 200. But the thing not to discount with Tesla is stuff like today.
Oh, yeah.
Where, again, the short, even though there's not really a short squeeze, I mean, it's only 4% short. But the idea is there's so many people that bet against Tesla all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So there are bigger positions that sometimes have to cover, and then we know that I don't have the ape thing, but this is another stock that people really follow Elon.
Yeah.
And if this continues to go to the upside, it'll just squeeze higher. We could see 200 tomorrow, Adara, honestly. That's 200 right there. This one candle today, 174 to 187, 174, 187, that's $13. What if we had 13 again? 187 plus 13.
I mean, we could. And
Winner, winner, chicken
yeah.
dinner. That's 200.
The dancing chicken, Sean. But yeah, one thing I think as well with Tesla, and I brought this up on the How to Trade show as well, which you can check out 11 to 2. I think one thing with Tesla is you do have, as Sean just mentioned there, a lot of social media attention, a lot of people who are very supportive of Elon. Of course, we do have that potential pressure on the stock with that upcoming shareholder vote. But the thing is, if you go on Twitter and look at any of those Tesla bulls, they're very much pushing for the vote. They're pushing for that support. And so I think the amount of attention and positive attention this name has specifically online could give it a GME-like move despite the smaller short float.
Yeah, I mean, GME-like moves today into the close for sure. Good call on that one, Adara. I mean, look at it. Look at GME here. Went up to 22 bucks. We had a nice little bump there into the close up to 22, 22.50. We talked about $20 off the sticky note all day long. And unfortunately, we didn't have our bids down there between 12 and 1 o'clock, which reminds me, get ready for our podcast. The Freedom and Wealth podcast is going to be dropping very, very soon on that one. We do have our good friend Brian Shannon coming, and he's been all over this crypto play with Ethereum Grayscale. So this ETHE, what a move. I mean, it was just a week ago that we had Brian on, and this was in the 20s, low 20s at that. Now you're in the 30s trying to get back up to highs again. As they talked about sort of that discount that was there in the ETF, against the actual coin itself. So you are getting an outsized move now in ETHE as what happened to GBTC. And again, I don't know if this scale has been sort of changed over. I'm going to find the exact date that we had announced, but we had some big moves up there in the Grayscale product on GBTC before eventually getting outflows, now inflows back into GBTC as people rearrange based on percentages and what it takes. You know, 1.5 management fee, something like that seems to be a bit expensive. When we have ARC-B for the Bitcoin, we have names like HODL, IBIT, so on and so forth that you can look at for Bitcoin ETFs. So I guess it was right here when we sort of got announced. January the 11th, and since then, that was $53, $78, a nice little move there. I prefer to trade IBIT if we're looking one way or the other. All right, Toll Brothers, I don't think is out yet. That's 4:30, so we're waiting for that. Quick check on Urban again. You don't know who Urban Meyer is, of course.
I do not, but I know Urban.
College football coach, but
yeah,
then was with Jacksonville and then did really bad with Jacksonville. Okay, move downside, it really screwed up Trevor Lawrence. We'll talk about that, everyone. Shout out to everybody there in Jacksonville. Okay, so pulling back in just a little bit now, but that Tesla continuing to go in the aftermarket. Now 187.35, can we get a Hydration Nation and a bang for Tesla? We'll pour one out, not over the equipment.
We're confident.
I know, we're confident with that. We've got it going right now. All right, this has been so good so far. Look at the cryptocurrencies go, Adara. I mean, you've been talking about that all day long. Look at Bitcoin up 12% over the last 7 days. 69, we did get a pullback in BTC late, so Ethereum as well actually held the bid. We broke through 3,700, now still there at 3,750 basically. Who cares about Tether? Binance 611, Solana 175 in holding, Dogecoin 16.5 cents. When Elon went on Saturday Night Live, I believe Dogecoin went to 53 cents.
That's a decent rally.
Decent
3
rally.
times, yeah.
Cardano, 50 cents. Shiba Inu, a bunch of zeros and then a 259 at the end there for Shiba Inu. So that one starting to go around again as we take a look at some of the cryptocurrency names with a little bit of a weak earnings board today. Let's just have a look. You update me if anything else came through. We can even talk about some earnings from yesterday, but again, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot. Let's just have a quick look. Get my ugly mug out of there because we're hiding Apple right now and Nvidia. So the market continued their upside push today on Tuesday, despite some despite some early weakness in the market. You still see Amazon. We had Amazon on our sticky note as a sell, and that turned out to be true. Still down 0.21 against a strong market. Of course, no rate hike, says Fed Waller. Doesn't see a rate hike happening. Yeah, neither do I during comments starting at 9 o'clock. But then Fed's bar sent the markets to the downside at 11:45 with a more cautious tone, of course. Bostic, Mester, and Collins Adara all came through. Scheduled to speak at 7 tonight. Palo Alto with the report. We can look at that. That was a nice move. JP Morgan today, yeah, as if. I mean, up another 2%. Like, that was a buy the dip opportunity.
Yeah.
We talked about that yesterday with Michael Noss.
You called it. Yeah, you mentioned that.
Sometimes I call things right, but thank you for pointing that out. But the financial sector today, pretty strong, man. I mean, all these names, WFC, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Burke up, Morgan up, Blackstone up, everybody, BX, everything continues to go to the upside as geopolitical tensions, again, on everyone's mind. You had that international court there looking to charge with hate crime. I think it was hate crimes, looking for warrants. So we'll wait to see how that goes. I don't think the market's affected that much. We could have a quick look at USO to see what oil was up to. And down 1%. You don't drive, so.
Yeah, I do not drive, will never drive.
You will.
Cannot. Oh,
never say never.
I know.
Shout out to
Ramírez
Bieber.
referencing there. Yeah, I will fight till forever.
Yep.
You
good
set
voice.
me up there. You said you set me up to sing.
Yeah. Once you drive, you never. It's like once you go black, you never go back. You talk about that with as far as play.
Once you drive, you know you thrive.
There we go, Knight Rider. All right, Eli Lilly today, nice move back up to the upside, 803 right now, brand new all-time highs. You brought this story to us again, and it's all about China again.
It is.
You know, huge market over there. Their drug getting approved over there, the GLP-1s into China. So that's a good one right there. Nice move upside for Eli Lilly as that continues to go. What really surprised me today, we were looking at it. We did have, again, copper. We've talked about copper pulling back. I thought we had a story from FCX intraday here. Hold on a second. Was there something here with FCX? Yeah, nice little move down, making that move into $53. So I remember hearing something about that with copper down 2%, potentially an opportunity. Remember, just a little while ago, we talked about GLD and gold. I'd stamped a buy right down here, man, 212. You could rewind it, man. It was 2 Fridays ago. We talked about dip buying gold, that breaking out. Michael called it, and I forget who he gave credit to it. I think it was JC Peretz. Called silver, gold's crazy cousin. Gold upside, silver continuing to extend higher as well. So a really nice upside move there today. But for me, it's all about Tesla. I mean, what a good move. Nice bottom pick there. I've gone back and forth with Brian a couple times about Tesla as well. This still kind of looks broken to me on the daily chart. Obviously, it's above the 50-period moving average. But the 50-period moving average, I'm going to actually ask Brian about this. He always tells me, we got to wait till this slopes up, Sean, just a little bit right there. So we're going to find out what happens with the 50-period moving average right now as we look out for sloping action in that. Look, a lot of traders wait for Brian to come through. If we're ready, I can call him on. Over 2,800 say, bring on Mr. Shannon. So you know what I say, Adara?
Bring on Mr. Shannon.
Let's do that. Look at this clean-cut, handsome devil, you, Brian Shannon, is right here. Looking all good, showing me up once again. It's Brian. How are you doing on this lovely Tuesday?
Doing well, Sean. Doing well.
In my opinion, you should be doing a heck of a lot better than well, because you absolutely nailed this, not only on your Twitter, but also all over. I'm sure you've been talking about it for a while. That Ethereum play, you brought that to our attention last week, and if I had a hat, I'd be tipping it to you, my friend, because you had mentioned, hey, why not take a look at this name? Definitely barcoding down at the bottom, and then you talked about the premium that was potentially baked into the downside when we were worried a little bit about this being approved or not, and now all of a sudden, it really works in our favor back upside. Congratulations on that call. What's it looking like to you now, ETHE?
Thanks. You know what, Sean? I had an irresponsible sized long position in my account, and I got shaken out of it in the ETHE.
You hold some?
I did have a full size position in Ethereum, the actual, but thank goodness I held it in my wife's account. So I don't trade hers the way I trade mine, and she did well with it this time. She made 45%. So.
Boom.
That was good for her. So that wins me points there. That's maybe more important than a little extra in my account, right?
I was just going to say the same thing, man. Like, if my wife can win, boom, I'll take that. I'll take one win from my significant other and 5 L's for me every single day. But great call. And again, you're getting a lot of credit there in the chat for Ethereum. So that was a great call. Congratulations on it. What do you think? If we can now go back and we weren't in the position right now, for me, if we come over to the daily chart, I mean, I could start dropping some anchors, but I know that's your thing, so I'll wait for that. We're getting up to the highs here, $35, $36. We actually looked at Ethereum proper. We know that high is around 4,100 or so. Nice move today. We did dip a little bit underneath on ETHE today as we broke through 3,700 at the end of the day, but definitely got that back. What is Ethereum looking like to you? Is it maybe a little bit overbought?
Yeah, I think you got to be pretty careful with it. I mean, we spoke about, could it really be that easy just to grab that discount, right, on a rally and see that close? And basically, it has closed that discount. So I think ETHE, if you own that one, there's bigger risk in owning it right now. What they said yesterday was there's a 75% chance that it will get approved. I think that Thursday is the day that they have to, SEC has to make up their mind about it.
Right.
So with this 25, with a 75% chance, that's not 100%. If for some reason it doesn't get approved, well, then you're going to see that discount open up pretty wide again. You'll probably see Ethereum sell off, maybe 5-10%, and then you'll lose 20 to 30% in ETHE,
right,
because you'll see that discount open again. So I think there's a lot of risk in ETHE. Ethereum itself, I'm out of 80% of what I own in Ethereum. I'm hoping that we can get a pullback down towards 34, 3,500. It rallies this strong. I think you've just got to take profits into a rally that strong and hold on to a very small piece to just in case it does continue to move higher.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. Do you have a little bit of HODL in your blood as well? Are you holding some for the moon, or are we being more realistic with a lot of this stuff and just looking to get out of that little last piece, or is that something that we wait for and then look back in 20 years?
I always have a little bit, but it's never, it's not that I have it on cold storage off to the side.
Right.
I always have some in my account. I don't know what, you would make my average cost basis because I buy and sell, but I always make sure I have some in there regardless of what the price is doing. But right now I'm pretty much down to, almost half of what my minimum is right now.
Okay.
So I'm pretty light exposure to cryptos.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the same thing about, when the markets get to this all-time highs, you see everyone walking around 40,000 Dow, and I always think like, okay, that means we're going to the downside, right? We talked about getting those, the bulls on the cover of Forbes or whatever we're talking about, and whenever you see it in the Main Street, that generally means back down to the downside, as Wall Street will always pick that up. So, okay, quickly, not quickly, we have lots of time. Target reports tomorrow. I don't know if you saw Walmart last week, but what a great move that was. Or maybe I'll give you a second. I wanted to ask you about Target potentially, but do we still buy Walmart up here, Brian? I mean, again, they've talked about getting inventory under control. Their online is starting to go from a macro side of it. I've thought Walmart here on a breakout, and if we even go to a longer time frame, come over here one more second, Fabian. On the weekly, just Walmart really working, starting to go. It doesn't look like it wants to even pull pull back anything at all, with Target looking almost opposite of Walmart, under the 200, trying to maybe get to the 50 simple on the weekly. We do have a nice level here of 140. Kind of a tale of two stores. I don't know what your opinion is between Walmart and Target. Here in Canada, unfortunately, we lost our Target because the CEO was like, hey man, we're losing money in Canada. So he pulled out a little while ago. But do you see anything here? I know you don't trade really around earnings, but Target, how does it look right now? I think it's looking like it wants to go lower.
You know, it's close to closing that gap from what looks like the last earnings report in March. And we're also hanging around right at that year-to-date anchored VWAP. That's that thick purple line over here, thick pink or whatever color that is, fuchsia. Anyways, we're hanging around right at that. So what I think you might see in here, Sean, is that this ends up being a little bit of a flush out. And then you get a bounce in this. So I think they're bringing the shorts in, and I wouldn't be surprised that it goes the other way and rallies up towards the anchor from last quarter, as well as that 50-day moving average. So I'm not going to trade it. You know, I'm not going to place a bet on it, but I would be more surprised if it continued lower than to see it bounce up towards this level.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So we'll see what happens for that tomorrow. I mean, Target sometimes surprises. Like sometimes the moves are like 20%. They just come out of nowhere, and that was a good look. All the way down to 100. A possibility for me for Target. That's a little ways away at this point. That is for sure. I wanted to bring up a stock that's a battleground stock, not just for us here on the show, but often gets talked about, obviously, by many viewers, and you probably get questions about it all the time. I'm talking about the one and only EV maker that apparently makes money. That's going to be Tesla. I mean, honestly, all the way to the downside there, we got a huge flush on this chart down to 140 as we saw earnings come through. I don't know if there's a lot of people, Fabian, can we go to the screen, Fabian, quickly? I don't know if there was a lot of love down here at 100 if people were waiting for that. I know there's a lot of traders that dip bought this name, but up 7%. And if we flip over to a daily chart, to me, I don't know. I mentioned it before you came on. I saw you in the green room there. Yep. I like the 50-period moving average as an indicator, but you told me to make sure that we kind of wait for it to sort of flip over to look to buy this name. Look, I know it's not, maybe fundamentally not the best name. I don't necessarily love Tesla at these levels, but I think we have a run back to 200 in this name. What do you think about that? How does Tesla look? Can you give me some more insight maybe from a charting standpoint?
You know, today's action just dragged that 50-day moving average higher for the first time in, well, since back here, since that mid-January. So today is the first day it started to rise again. That's because we got rid of this data and replaced it with this data up here. So that's where we were 50 days ago. So you're right. And we've been coiling just under the anchor from this. Was that the earnings report? I think it was. And we had seen resistance there, a little bit lower. We came back above that today. Now we're at the year-to-date anchor. So I think that maybe we get another push through here tomorrow, something like this. And then next week, we start to settle in and see if that prior resistance at the anchor from the earnings will become support. And then you've got an opportunity for a lower risk trade up perhaps towards this level first, and then the 200-day moving average, which could get you 210-ish.
Hi, Brian. Thank you so much for going over that.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. I was looking at some of your plays that you've mentioned recently, including TGTX, TG Therapeutics. Any updates on how that one is currently looking, what your thoughts are right now, a couple weeks after you first mentioned it?
Yeah, exactly. So this one, I have had some good trades in it, and I held a little bit because I talk about this all the time, that I try to stay in my time frame, which is a swing trade. Once in a while, I start reading news, and I want to decide I want to be an investor in something. And I did that with this one. Now, I had traded it over here, got a nice trade, got out of most of it right here, but I've held some down here. I still think the story is fundamentally there. We've got this 20-day moving average coming up to it. We're hanging on the year-to-date anchor, but I feel like such an ass for still holding any shares while it undergoes this. I think that we're probably going to see it start to flatten out in the next couple of days, and then I'll put a a full-size position back on, right? And then we could see a move up towards this 19 level. But I have a small piece in it. Actually, it's with options. And I don't feel as bad holding options as I do holding stock when it does this. But I still like it, but I don't think it's full-size position yet. We need to see it, establish a little better support and create some momentum first.
Thank you so much for going over and reviewing that one. Are there any other new names that you're looking at right now? Anything that you're starting in or you're looking to start in based on what you're seeing on the charts?
Yeah, I think Crocs, I might be time for another look at Crocs. This one, we had a really nice trade right over in here. Sold the first third, sold another third on the breakout as it broke this prior high. I always like to sell those breakouts and then got stopped out of the balance there. Today it came back nicely. I'm hoping tomorrow we can maybe come back down to the week-to-date VWAP. And then on, so that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, I think you could see that 5-day moving average start to flatten out, curl up, and then Crocs could be a good one for a swing trade. Really, the pickings are pretty slim out here. We've seen really low volume the last couple days, and we've kind of got a summer market with a holiday coming up, and I think it's time to just be a little bit more cautious overall, unless you're day trading in some of these super liquid names.
Brian, let's just be perfectly honest. How many pairs of Crocs do you own?
No, I've never owned a pair in my life.
Oh my gosh. I own 3 pairs. I'm not trying to set you up. I got one with a Team Canada logo. I got like a psychedelic one that my brother got. And then I actually have like some slides for Crocs. I think you should try them. They're pretty comfortable. Make a little money on the trade. Hey, look, if we make some money on the trade, I'm going to send you a pair of Crocs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put the Trader TV logo on there, and we can check that out. All right, we are 1 day away. I don't know if you knew you were going to get this question or not. One time you've nailed it a lot of times, but that Nvidia call, I'm never going to forget. I think it was 4:30. Well, I actually never going to forget the call. Obviously, forget the price. Nailed that on earnings. I just put in a year-to-date anchored VWAP in. Someone taught me that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the year-to-date anchor on Nvidia, Man, you've nailed it with these anchored VWAPs, by the way, Brian. Congratulations on that, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But how is the anchor VWAP basically at this low right now? I mean, that nailed it right there. If we get a pullback into Nvidia, it just happens to be 777 or so is what I'm getting from Trade Ideas anchored VWAP right now. We got a little bit of a scare early with Nvidia today. If I flip this over and get like a 1-minute chart, or let's go 3-minute, today with Amazon possibly coming out and saying, hey, we're going to delay some of the purchases of Blackwell, which is their new chip. But at the end of the day, it rallied all the way back up to the upside. Delayed or not, Nvidia is probably going to work. So my question to you is, and we can't predict the future or anything like that, but we can't? But I was thinking of putting a bid in and around some of those lows, 750-ish, 770, 780, just to start to dollar cost average into Nvidia. I think it's going to be a winner for a long time. Is that something reasonable to do just in case we get a miss?
I think it is, but I think the level that's more realistic here, Sean, is the anchor from that low. So if you do a handoff and start a new anchor from that day where it touched it, here on I'll just make that a little bit bigger. That's the year-to-date anchor right there. We hit on March 17th, or April 17th, rather. So I drew another anchor that started that day, and now that is at about 868. So in this general area where you have the 20-day moving average, the 50-day moving average, you have the anchor from this prior peak. In this general area, I think is where you're most likely going to see a bid. I think coming all the way down there is a little bit aggressive. I mean, doesn't mean it can't happen, but I would first be interested if it comes down towards that 870 to 880. That little range in there is the first likely level that will be bought if we see a reaction to the downside.
Brian,
and then,
thank you so much.
Of course, the year-to-date anchor.
Yeah, thank you so much for all that. I mean, I just drew it myself as well. We're going to be looking at those 2 spots. I'm going to be looking at that tomorrow. Of course, I got to let you go. I got Little League practice tonight.
Nice.
So the team is 3-1. Did you play baseball as a kid or maybe even currently?
I was the pitcher on the T-ball team.
T-ball team, that's hilarious.
True story.
I like that. I'm like, oh, you're a pitcher. I could take some pictures. But T-ball, I like that. Yeah, that's a funny one. Yeah. Maximum trading gains with anchored VWAP. You can go find it at Alpha Trends. Go find our good friend Brian Shannon. Thank you so much. This book, it gets passed around the floor. It's a very, very popular one. So thank you again for writing this anchored VWAP with maximum gains. Go find it. It's Brian Shannon at Alpha Trends. Thank you so much, Brian. We'll cross our fingers and hope for that Nvidia. Look out for some Target. Watch some TGTX and look for some Crocs. I hope they beat because I'm going to send you a pair. Thank you so much, Brian.
All right. Thanks.
Ciao. That's Trader Talk. Adara, I'm going to make a prediction that you own some Crocs.
I owned one pair when I was a child, and I wore them on a trip to Montreal, and I did not break them in at all ahead of time, and I just did not have a good experience. I'm open to owning them, but that
So I failed again. I'm wrong again. I said that you own a pair of Crocs, and you do not.
I would like to, yeah, I do. Technically, I own them, yeah.
Oh, you do?
I mean, like, as a child, I've owned them past tense. I'd be open to owning them.
You do not currently own a pair?
No, sorry, should have answered that in a way more roundabout way, or a way less roundabout way.
Okay, I could be wrong. It happens all the time, probably too often than not. Shout out to my wife if she's watching, she knows that. All right, thank you so much to everybody. Thank you to our good guest, great guest, Brian Shannon, but we can't go anywhere without doing roll call. I agree, man. Brian is the best guest.
Awesome, yeah.
I mean, you know, other than the other one? No, they're all the same. We love them all. Brian, again, great technical analysis. He's never asked me once about this book.
You just bring it up.
Have you read it?
I read some of it, and you should read the whole thing.
You should. I mean, so again, I think it is for beginning traders to understand about the anchored VWAP,
Yeah.
but you know, normal VWAP, good to start with. Anchored VWAP, even better once you get going. Great section there on IPOs as well. So, all right, great show today. But again, we can't go anywhere without roll call. What's up to Bears versus Bulls? He's here as well. Monty G is here. Derek S. Jay Lee, the stock. Hey, the stock professor. We have a professor of our own. I'm not sure this is who that is right now. Shout out to Sharif coming through. Dan McIsaac, Dave B. Sebastian says Shadera. That's good. We like that. Good day, or GG today, Sean. Yeah, good game. Yeah, thanks. For that, Rich Naples is here. We love the pizza from Napoli. Oh, yeah. Arista Stocks Market. Oh, Toll Brothers. Toll Brothers is out, so he just said Toll Smash, and that's not the smash that we're talking about.
Oh, they beat.
They smashed it, eh? Toll Brothers up to 132. Not really too exciting right now. We're expecting a 4% move. You want to go over the numbers quickly? It doesn't really matter. Quick.
Just a beat. So Q2 operating income, 623 mil versus 500 mil expected beat. Then we get pre-tax profit, 649.8 mil versus 591.4 mil expected. That's going to be a beat. Home sales adjusted gross margin, 28.2%. Revenue also a beat, 2.65 bill versus 2.53 bill expected. So, I mean, I don't see any downside. I don't see any misses there. Good look.
That was pretty quick. I like that. That was a good one. All right, man. We'll be looking at Tesla tomorrow. We'll be looking at Nvidia.
Yeah.
What a good move. We're looking at some Ethereum tomorrow. What was your favorite stock to trade today? Quickly, and we'll let them go.
Yeah, Nvidia 948.50. I keep saying that level.
Right. That's your nightmare
I didn't necessarily trade it as successfully as I wanted to, but there's a whole new day tomorrow. My biggest issue was execution. I'm happy the ideas were in the right place.
Yeah, with Meek Mill, when dreams would turn into nightmares. We will watch out for Nvidia levels tomorrow. Thank you so much to everybody watching. That's Adara. I'm Sean. Go follow us all on socials. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. You did it, and we did it. Real traders stay late. Catch you tomorrow, 8:30.